Yo, what's going on, everybody? This is your boy Ron coming to you live on another Tuesday night. Woo woot. And here we go. I am 1/3 of the Melanated Council. Typically, we go live every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and then wherever else you're in the world, go ahead and figure that out. And as per usual, um, like, subscribe, enjoy the show, and kick back, relax, and let's have some fun. Let's have some fun. We're gonna have a fun episode tonight. We're gonna have a fun episode tonight. But before we get into that episode, we we got to do some check-ins. We got to do some roll calls. We got to do some check-ins, and we're going to have a good time. So, without further ado, how was your guys' weekend? I know from Tuesday to Tuesday, I know a lot has probably happened. I know in the news a lot has happened. Neighborhoods, I know a lot has happened. I know on my end, school is back in session. Kids went back to school as of today, even though it was a half day. I was able to come in and do my thing and talk to the principal and let the principal know, like, hey, so what's plans? What's your plans? What's your thoughts with your boy? Like, have you had that conversation with so and so and so and so? And if you had, what have you guys agreed upon? What are you guys doing about it? Like, help a brother out. Let me know. Let me know something. Right, right. So managed to talk to the principal, and I gave her the spill of, like, as far as what I did last year, and are we are still going to be doing the same thing like we did last year, this year, and I broke it down to her, like, what all that I did my on top of my typical job duties. And she's like, you know what? Let's do it for these kids. Let's go for it. She's like, if we could keep that allotted time for you, to be able to do what you got to do, let's go ahead and do it. She said, I'm going to find out, and when I find out, I'll let you know. Bet. Like, go ahead and do what you got to do. Please go ahead and do what you got to do, because I'm all for it. The kids, they love it. They want to be a part of everything that's going on, and they just like, being able to have another ear to, like, hey, what's going on? How's your day going? That kind of ordeal. So we got that going on as well. And let's see what else is going on. What else is going on? A lot is going on. A lot is going on. We, of course, as you guys remember, football started for us. This was our first day doing, well, everybody being suited up as far as pads go. So, shoulder pads, the helmets, cleats, mouth guards, practice pants, and whatnot. So everybody got that. And I sent out sending out messages, try to help families, try to get everything together, all the good stuff, and just being able to see the kids, practice and get involved as far as what's going on, what we're doing. So that's been, like, awesome and amazing. And let's see. So we got that. And then, of course, talking to the assistant coach. And then my brother, he called me, like, probably about like about 5 minutes, no, 10 minutes ago. He called me 10 minutes ago. We just, running through some stuff, helping me out. Because, again, if you guys haven't remembered, your boy is a first time coaching the Rocket football, period. I've played Rocket football for years. I played Rocket football from elementary school all the way up to middle school. I missed 1 year because I took a break from Rocket, but I missed it. I miss playing football, but at the same time, um, from that last year in middle school going into high school, again, I played. So it's like playing the sport, it is not unfamiliar to me. Like, I love the sport. I love the contact aspect. I love the competition that comes behind it. Like, There's a lot of things when it comes to Rocket football I enjoy. Even high school football, I enjoyed. I enjoy the competitiveness. I enjoy being able to compete, being able to tackle, being able to fight for positions. A lot of the hands-on things that you may not get at other type of sporting events, but with football, it's like, yes, I'm all for it. All for it. So found out that our first game is September 10th. Found out today that first game is September 10th. Let that sink in. Found out today our first game is September 10th. Like, what is September 10th? September 10th is 2 weeks away. So we got, of course, the 27th, we got the 3rd, and the 10th is a Saturday. Now, as far as what time, I have no idea. But I do know on Thursday we're taking pictures and whatnot. So we got to do pictures and, make sure we get all nice and fancy and, take a photo op, like click, click. But yeah, this is going to be interesting. This is going to be very, 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 very interesting. So, and again, like I said, I can't wait. I can't wait. I'm super excited and I'm just overjoyed. But I got to put a pause. I got to put a pause. I got to put a pause. I got to put a pause because I got to bring the other 1/3 of the Melanated Council. If y'all don't know who this person is, y'all gonna find out today. Y'all gonna learn today who this person is. She's my homie. She's my homegirl. Like I cannot put into words what she means to me as of right now. She's a homegirl. Y'all give it up for the lovely, the illustrious Elle. Woo, 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 woo. Yeah.
Ron, you're the best introductions.
Listen, I gotta get it hype. So
I agree.
first things first, before we dive in and everything else, like I'm itching for another episode.
About what exactly?
You forgot already? Did you
Are you
forget
talking
that
about
quick?
like right now, this episode?
No, on the agreeable gray.
Oh my! I was like, because I was like, oh, maybe what you were saying before I came on. I was like, oh shit, what was he? It's like, what was he itching for?
Oh,
But no, I appreciate that. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
man, I love it. I love it. I love the angles that you use. I love the rawness that you bring forth. Like, I just love it. I'm like, man, I'm ready for another one. I'm ready for another one. And so once I get that notification, oh yeah, and I got Spotify too. So once I get that notification, like, oh yeah.
Oh, thank you so much, Ron.
I'm like, yes. I mean, next time I might make some popcorn because man, I'm like, man, this girl telling the whole story. Like, let's go, Elle. Come on. Like,
oh, thank you.
let me dive into your world.
No, like I think honestly everyone should try to do like an audio blog,
Yeah.
like because like I guess a podcast blog, because
I don't know.
because like it does like it definitely does give like a deep dive into like people that like honestly Gil, who has been on the show a few times, and he's in the chat pretty often.
Mm-hmm.
He has his own podcast, and I listen to it, like I listen to it pretty often, and it's just like really cool just like hearing like his thoughts and perspectives on things, and it really did like inspire me,
right,
to just really just jump into it and just give my angle on things, like, so, or just like, because I don't know about you, but sometimes I just have like a lot of thoughts ruminating, and it's like, who can I just talk to for like an hour and a half straight uninterrupted?
Come on, I'm with you. I'm with you.
Like that's one of the things I do appreciate about the Melanated Council, because it's just like we're able to just express our thoughts
Mhm.
and hear everybody else's point of view, like your point of view, Toby's point of view. And I love everybody in the chat, of course, because I
Yes.
feel as though like everyone is just open,
Yes.
like just like just open, raw, and sometimes we may not agree on everything, and that's fine. So
Mhm.
yeah. So, but you guys definitely inspired me. And yeah, chat. When I say you, I'm also including the chat. When I say you all inspired me,
Yes.
because I've wanted to start a podcast since I was like in my early 20s, and I just kept putting it off.
Okay.
And and yeah, and so I was like, and with Gil's pushing too. I was just like, let me just bite the bullet and just go
Mhm.
for it. For
Right.
any of you who are thinking about starting a podcast or literally anything, just know that like what oddly brought comfort in me was like I felt like I had to be like an ultra expert on things. I was like, maybe I need to do more reading on a particular thing, or maybe I need to um have it focus on one particular thing. And I'm like, what is it that I'm just like knowledgeable of and like one particular thing? Like I was going back and forth and all over the place. But one thing that really it just made me rethink it is that like there's a lot of people who quite frankly on YouTube or on podcasts who are literally just spreading false information. like just and they're trying to sell it as true. And I'm like, I don't want to try to sell things as true. I'm just like, this is just my perspective on things. Your mileage may vary, your experiences may vary. So, but like maybe hopefully how I word things may help you in some way. But like, this is just what I've experienced and my thoughts on this thing. I'm not out here trying to like, it's like, this is the way, this is the truth, this is it. It's like, no, this is just my perspective. Like, you can disagree, and that's fine. Like, actually, one of my friends is texting me about because he said that he listened to to two of them, um, and he was talking about like I had like the social media episode, and he was saying like if he is like do he asked if I really do believe if people are addicted to their phones, and I'm like I do. But he says that he doesn't have social media. So I'm like, okay, so you're most likely like a lot less addicted. And then he was asking me if I think WhatsApp is a social media app, and I say I do because like if it's an app that can notify you, and I'm going to say like every app that you socialize on is a social media app. But like if you share things, let me put it this way: if you can weaponize it,
Ooh.
then it could be social media. I don't really think there's any like there's no way on WhatsApp where you can there's no algorithms really, but you can still be addicted to it in the sense of what people share to you. Like I know that WhatsApp was very weaponized during like it's always weaponized during the election, especially for Spanish speaking users, because a lot of people like especially in South Florida with like our Cuban, Puerto Rican, Dominican, every in every like Latin community, like they use WhatsApp to communicate back home. So if someone who doesn't like, like let's say somebody back in like the Dominican Republic doesn't know much about like the politics in the US, but they know like an election is coming or like something is happening, they might just share some propaganda meme to somebody in the US, and that could cause that could be weaponized. That could be that could radicalize folks. So So that's sort of how I see it. Like, you still use it to, it, because like WhatsApp is great at sharing really large files,
Mhm.
and like video files, pictures, audio. So, and like also you could do stories on WhatsApp as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so which I'm sure like a lot of things can be shared that way. So yeah, I for sure think WhatsApp is a social media app.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. So that was but like it's just cool to have like conversations with people, and it's nice because I haven't actually like I haven't shared my podcast on like Twitter or Facebook or Instagram yet. Like I'm waiting until I get to episode 10 to do that. I'm debating if because once again like I'm still trying to create some sort of like rhythm of creating these episodes, but I'm thinking like if I should like release 10 episodes like what Netflix does and then maybe release 10 episodes every other month. And I'm like, I don't know.
Like, don't do me like that. Don't
Like,
do me like that. I'm gonna say, don't do me like that. No.
oh man.
Like, oh my gosh. Like, even then, like, I went back. I just took. And again, for anybody who hasn't listened to Elle's podcast, it's on Spotify. Go check her out. What is it? Agreeable Gray.
Agreeable
The
gray
agreeable,
area.
gray, the agreeable gray area podcast.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It is. I like it. Yes.
Oh,
Man,
thanks,
watch.
Mish.
I mean, I went back and I listened to the first one. I'm like, ooh, okay, that's cool. And then the second one automatically played. I'm like, oh, we talking about this now? Like, okay, L, okay. And then we went straight into the third one. I'm like, these are L's thoughts uninterrupted. Like, these are her thoughts. I'm like, oh, we got something right here. Like, L got something. Like,
Oh, thank you.
oh yeah. And I'm for real. Like, the last one I listened to, I was literally looking at my popcorn maker, about to make me some popcorn. Like, I'm gonna put this thing on pause because she's saying something real good. I'm gonna munch and eat and listen to what L got to say. I'm like, okay. Like, let's go. Like, let's go. And then it stops. I'm like, dang it, I need another episode.
Oh. Well, I have 4 episodes now. I did put up another episode. I can't remember whenever the hell it says. Let me actually.
What?
Yeah, I put one up on the 17th.
You did? I ain't get a notification? Darn you, Spotify. You suck.
So you listen to the gray area protecting your energy?
Let's see. Hold on. No, that's the new one. I gotta get that one. I gotta get that one.
See what Mish said? Gonna slide into people's Gonna slide into people's DMs like, come over for Ellen chill.
I like it. Yeah. Oh man, I like it. Okay, all right, y'all. I'm still happy to talk about your week. So everybody can get caught up and everything else because we got, we got the other part of the Triforce. He came in here all smooth, slick, like about to drop some hot knowledge, especially how he has other people, i.e., women, cook his meals, and nothing gives back in return. So if y'all not entertained, y'all about to be entertained right now for the one, for the only Toby the Smooth.
Oh man, these introductions are something else.
Thank you.
I've been listening since the beginning, like literally as soon as you went live, like pretty much right on the dot at 9. I was like trying to get my computer together. was on some type of blue screen, so there was no hope for me today. I really tried. I thought today was going to be the week that I came on a little earlier, but we're here. Good to see everyone. Good to see everyone. Good to see my lovely co-hosts up there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And yeah, that's great. I was like, I'm going to beat Elle today to come on the stream, and then that didn't happen. But it's good.
It's the thought that counts, Toby. It's It's the thought that counts. One day you'll get there.
Yeah, one day.
One day.
Okay.
But I'm still here.
Okay.
I'm gonna take off this echo because not an echo, but I have one of my things that are streaming in the background.
No,
So
you're good. You're good.
Hear a delay of like what we're saying, and I hear it there. I'm like, that's not good.
All right. Go ahead, Elle. Go ahead and let the community know how your week was from last week, Tuesday.
It was actually pretty cool. Like, I started going to LA Fitness mainly. Like, I went to yoga on Monday yesterday with my friend, and I did go last week too. And I guess I made like a new friend, so that's pretty nice. But I got to tell you about something crazy that happened today, though.
Oh.
So I usually, I see my therapist on Tuesdays, and like, you know, I show up, I try to open the door. The door is locked. It's not that uncommon. You know, I knock, I don't hear anything. It's like, okay. I text him. I was like, hey, the door is locked. I don't hear anything. You know, because usually he checks his phone like immediately. You know, he's very quick to respond or anything. And I was like, okay. So it was kind of cold, so I stepped outside, waited for a bit, then I called, no answer. And I'm like, okay, now I'm getting kind of worried. And I just sit back in my car and like listening to listening to like a podcast. And then he texted me like a pretty big text saying how he got stuck at Office Depot because of like there was like some kind of like lockdown at the place. He was just trying to get copies, and there was like some kind of lock, and like so he texted me that. You just steal the A. No, you just
Let's go.
I
Right.
was trying not to laugh while you're telling your story.
That's funny, but
Oh man, I couldn't help it. I saw like, like let's go, Mish.
I thought you were gonna say I should just like steal the L and maybe like hang it or something. But
you can do that too. A Fitness.
But so like there was like some lockdown. Like long story short, it seemed like somebody got fired and they were just like being crazy. Wow. So yeah, so like it was just like a whole mess, and yeah, so like then I ended up just going to like this taco place that recently opened, like right around the corner. Unfortunately, they didn't like recognize Taco Tuesday, so I had to pay full price for these tacos. But anyway, but like, you know, this was just one day where, you know, like, of course, like, you know, like my therapist is fine and everything. It was just like a kind of like a crazy experience, but you know, like just like that one day, you know, like I wouldn't say like this like threw me off really, because you know, like I'm a relatively like I'm not like, you know, I'm not going through anything crazy, you know, like I would say that I'm a pretty mentally sound person.
Mm-hmm.
But it just kind of made me think about how, you know, like how there could be people who aren't, and you know, like how that could just like really affect somebody drastically. And it started to really make me think like about like this thing that happened on TikTok and Twitter about like this I don't know if you heard that there was like this Black woman therapist who was on TikTok, and like she was very candid and funny. You
Mhm.
know, I'm sure she probably doesn't speak like that to her patients, but like on TikTok, she was just pretty funny and candid. And she she was, like making videos about how, like about like certain things, and then she made like a video about like how Black men need to start being more open with like their emotions, and like being able to like be more in tune with their emotions and stop, you know I can't remember. I'll definitely share her TikTok in the Discord.
Mhm.
But yeah, so she got in trouble. Well, like she got in it, like her that particular video about her talking about how Black, like she did say it, like people were calling out about her like professionalism and how like she was talking and things like that.
Mhm.
Even though she didn't technically do anything wrong, of course people are going to be arguing with that about that.
Right.
But like, so what ended up happening was like that particular video went viral on Twitter, and then somebody wrote an article about it. Like I heard that it was initially a Black woman that wrote an article about it, or this Black woman found another article written by like a Black man about it. I don't know, but it seems like it was probably like a Black woman wrote it. Like got her first name, last name, her like therapist address or something, like I guess like where she works, essentially wrote it in the article. So this TikTok therapist got fucking doxxed. And yeah, and then like she said that she posted a video on a Monday and got fired on a Friday. And just
Wow.
like she got fired. So like there was like very little warning, because like her company got spooked, and so this decided to just let her go. And she had a video, I think today actually. I disagree, Rocky, and I'll get to that too. I'll get to that because it's important.
Mhm.
Um, and so she was saying how like she had some patients who were like, dealing with trauma, who are, like she was helping them through like getting through cancer, helping them through like all sorts of things. And like some of these people she's been working with for years. And yeah, like, and now it's just gone. And like people were still harassing her for a while, because this has been going on for like, I think like probably like a couple of weeks now. People were still harassing her and shit, and she had to change her phone number to like it got to that point. And she's like, yeah, like how scary it is for especially like a woman, especially more so like a Black woman who is like having random people call her, text her, or whatever. Like it's just not cool. So like
Right.
I think it was a bad idea on the company's part to just like fire her, because that's very fucking irresponsible. Like, because like who's going to be taking care of like these patients now? Because like I don't think she should have gotten fired. Like, because if you really think about what she was doing, like, of course people may not agree with how she was speaking.
Mhm.
That doesn't necessarily mean that she should have gotten fired.
Okay.
So with Rocky's comment, he says, yes, I heard about that and saw the videos. She seemed like her heart was in the right place. However, it just wasn't smart execution on her part. Now, this is one of the most annoying like conversations to have, especially within the Black community, because we constantly go back and forth about professionalism and what is professionalism. Because I guarantee you, I probably wouldn't get hired at some companies because of my hair. You guys are nodding like, of course, no. And so like some people will just say that's not professional. Some people will say like how she was talking. It's like, well, she shouldn't, talk like that. It's like she was just being herself, being real. Like sometimes you need, especially like a black person like that, just to talk and be real. It's just like, honestly, like this bullshit construct of what we consider professional and what we don't. Because her execution of course, like she may have sounded probably like black men may have probably found it to be like a little bit negative, instead of just being like, it's like, oh fuck, like, or like you might feel like you got called out, instead of just like looking within yourselves like, yeah, I may not like her tone, or like I was like, oh shit, like it sounds familiar. It sounds maybe like my ex-girlfriend would say some shit like that, or like my sister or my aunt. Instead of like reflecting on that, it was more so like, nah, fuck you. I'm gonna just. And there was a black male therapist who, like stitched her TikTok, saying like, I said the exact same thing, and none of you guys came after me like that. It's like, and I'll share that link with you guys in the Discord too, because he's great too. I think his name's like Odie or Obi or something. But he was saying like, yeah, I've been saying this. It's like, oh, well, you finally. He's like, I didn't get my job calling me up saying that, I got to chill on TikTok. I didn't get, none of you guys are out here like blah, 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 this and that. It's like nothing happened to me. And yet now, like, you're like, he was saying like, you guys, this is how badly you ruined the black family, because there's like barely any black therapists to begin with. And mind you, it's not just finding a black therapist. It's finding a black therapist that you can get along with, that you can feel like yourself with, that you can relate to. Like, for example, like I'm Jamaican. Ron is African American. We have similarities, but there are still cultural differences between the two of us. So there's going to be things that, if I was magically his therapist, if he were to say like, he will say cultural things that I just wouldn't understand, or I just kind of know, and vice versa. There's definitely a lot of similarities, but still not exactly the same. Also, I'm a woman and he's a man, so there's that difference as well. Granted, like he might feel more comfortable talking to women. Like, for example, my therapist is a man, and like it works fine for me. But like it may not work fine for Ron, like having a woman therapist. There's nothing I can do. Like I don't know. Like I mean, I'm sure if I were like an actual therapist, I would know a lot more about men and masculinity and like like certain backgrounds and things like that. However, I wouldn't know to like the actual full extent. It would just be impossible for me. There would just be like things that I've just never heard, spoken between men. Like I may have an idea, people may have given me like a watered down version of it, or I may have like read about it on Reddit or something, but I would never get like the full actual understanding. So I forgot what the percentage of black women therapists are. It's like 4% or something like stupid small. So the fact that it's like now this is like a massive loss. So if she was counseling couples, like black couples, if she was counseling black women, she was counseling black men, who feel comfortable, who prefer speaking to women, or, it just happened to get along with her, for, which is cool. Now she's gone. And hopefully like she starts like a podcast or goes somewhere else. But I have to disagree. I don't think her execution was like. I think her execution was smart, actually. Like, it was. You know, it may have come off in a particular tone that you don't like. It might not. It might have just not been for you. You know, like people say that kind of shit about Kevin Samuels all the time. Whatever leverage you make. It's like, when I say, I mean that you can only navigate in spaces with whatever leverage you make. This company, is it fair? No, is it? I don't like. I guess like only time will tell. I don't like because if those clients start coming and start complaining or suing the company, then she wasn't replaceable, you know, like that, like, I mean, I get it, but you know, it's just like the unfairness. But yeah, okay, but thank you for clarifying that, Rocky. Though my bad, I mistook what you meant by I wasn't smart. But I mean, like, I get it. Like, it's true. It's just I don't know if like the term catch-22 or double-edged sword is the correct terms, but it's I don't know. It's the bullshit of it all. Like, I feel the same about Kaepernick. Was he wrong? No, but he would still have a job if he were in a different scenario. Yeah, I mean, sure. I think, you know, if people didn't try to, like, it's one thing to just have, like, that person's, you know, that therapist's name in an article. It's a whole other thing to dox them, though. Like, because somebody had to put her information out and, you know.
Right.
So, like, it's one thing to have, like, someone, like, you know, your first and last name in an article. But, like, what's even fucked up was, like, the article didn't even, like, contact her at all and to get her point of view on anything. So that's a whole other thing. You know, so. And, like, some people are saying because, like, the person who wrote the article was also a black woman. Like, you see, like, motherfuckers in the comments who are just like, well, a black woman did it to a black, so it's none of my business. Especially if it's like when like black men say that shit, it's like, so it's not. I got nothing to do with it. Like, that's their problem. And I'm like, okay, so it's like, actually no, it's still a fucking patriarchal problem overall. But I don't know. So like that's just like what's been on my mind lately, because you know, it was just oddly serendipitous of like, not in a good way, of, you know, like, this has been going on in TikTok, and then my therapist gets into a really weird scenario, and it's like, because that's probably how a lot of those her clients may feel when they're just trying to, like, go to their normal appointment, and then they just don't hear from her. Like,
Right.
I was just like, oh my god, I hope he's okay. I hope he's okay. I hope he's okay. Holy shit. Even though it was literally like maybe like 10-15 minutes, but it was just 10-15 minutes of me like freaking out, because I was like, it's like, he's gonna get back to me, he's gonna get back to me, he's gonna get back to me. Like, what if he doesn't? Like, what the fuck is going on? Like, what could he be? Like,
Right.
It's like, maybe he's like with a client and the client is just like going through a lot, you know. He can't look at his phone right now. Like, I totally get it, but at the same time I was just like, what the fuck is going on? It's like, I'm sure he's okay, but what the fuck is going on? And then like he texts me like 10 minutes later, you know. Like,
Right. Right. No, yeah, no, that's scary. But you know what though? Like, listening to what you were saying, because I was trying to put two together. So she was, you can correct me if I'm wrong, She basically made a TikTok saying that black men need to open up more.
Yeah, like her
Yeah.
delivery, some would say was like not the most professional, like a little harsh. I don't know, like, yeah.
Yeah.
And like, and I could see, yeah, I agree. I hope her patients fight for her too. And like,
True. Yes.
yeah, for sure. Like, because we all grew up in this fucking society, and we all we know how things can be perceived, and it's like I understand, like especially black men probably feel like when people talk about them, it's always like in a harsh, mean tone, and they want something kind of a little bit more soothing, and I get that. Like I trust me, like I really do. Y'all be going through it from like shit that I hear sometimes, and I'm like, you don't, I like you don't. It's like you don't have to be like. I understand that women could be like frustrated, and like I feel like this therapist was more so frustrated with like having to talk to like maybe like her women clients and how like they talk about like the men that they're trying to date, like the black men that they're trying to date, or like black men that probably are her clients, like she didn't like name anybody, but like, but I could like, I can understand like the frustration that like her clients may have, and like, with that, and like, so like her delivery, so people will probably say like her delivery wasn't professional or wasn't nice, it's the whole like fucking like tone policing. It wasn't like, yeah, of course it wasn't like the sweetest, it wasn't like, it wasn't like receiving like a cake. It was more so receiving a necessary nugget that kind of just gets thrown into your face. like it kind of slaps, like it slaps you in the face. It's like oh shit, but I do need this,
Right. It's a good thing you brought up that analogy too, and because one of I call him like my brother, but he's like a good close friend. But I call him my brother because we're pretty much like a lot of things we typically agree on, and there's some things that we don't agree on. We tend to disagree and everything else, but at the end of the day, we still respect each other. And there's been times when I'm telling like, dude, there's some days like I really just want to deck you just so you can shut up and just listen for once. And he laughs about it. He's like, I know you did. He goes to the tangent, but then you got to look at him like, dude, you got really no idea. Like, it's taking everything within me not to deck you in your jaw to put you to sleep, because that might be the only way you can actually listen and be like, why you do that for? Like, he was like, man, she said, but you know what? Looking at you in the face that you give me, said some days I feel as though you actually want to punch me. I was like, dude, there's some days I want to hurt you. Like, physically, I want to hurt you because like you don't get it. Like, come on, man. And again, that's what I respect. That's when that respect piece comes in, because he's like, he's like, I respect you for doing that. He said, because at least it shows, in my opinion, it shows that you care. You care enough to the point where you would physically harm me just to prove a point. Like, yeah, I have no qualms whatsoever, but at the same time, because it takes every fiber within me not to give you a nice right hook right in this area here, where I know if it connects, not only would I have the possibility of breaking your jaw, but I will also have the possibility of knocking you out in the same punch. Same punch. And so they're like, you're like, okay, we got that mutual understanding. But even still, as a young black male, I'm gonna put it like that, as a young black male, sometimes we do need that reality check. We need to be told, like, hey, you slipping as a man, you are slipping. You need to, put your big boy undies on, do what you got to do. You know,
Yeah.
we need that.
Yeah.
And even if it's not the most loving way, if it has to be the most harshest way, okay, at least they're telling you because they actually care about you. You
Very
know, and,
true.
and listening to what you're saying about what this black therapist was saying, it's like she actually cares about you enough to the point it's like, you know, it's okay to open up. It's okay to feel vulnerable. It's okay. It's
Mhm.
okay. And especially in a household, you know, it's with kids too, with boys. Yes, it's definitely okay to show your emotions, to be open, to be vulnerable. It's okay because now they know, like, okay, if we know dad cries and dad has his moments where he's angry, he's frustrated, and he's not going to sugarcoat anything, it's okay because he's doing it in a positive manner versus going out and do God knows what and get locked up for the rest of his life, you know,
Right.
or do something that's going to cause physical harm and he's going for the rest of our life, you know. So it's like, I get it. Yes, as black men, young black men, yes, we go through a lot, but at the same time, it's okay to open up to somebody who you can trust, who you don't mind being vulnerable with, and knowing that whoever you're being vulnerable with, they're not going to hurt you at the end. Like they actually genuinely care about you. Yes. Oh yes. Go ahead and pull up Rocky's other point.
Mhm.
Yes. Yes. And to this day, like I'm fighting a lot of stuff that my own father instilled in me. And I am still, even still to this day, rewiring my brain to be like, no, that's not true because it's not going to solve anything, you know? And even then, like, you know, me and my kids and the missus, we had a conversation in the kitchen, you know, not even like 3 days ago. And, you know, they were like, you know, when mom cries, we get it. When mom cries, it's something else, you know, like, but it hits different when you see dad cry. And we know dad
Mhm.
normally does not cry. He don't. They're no. When dad cries, it's something different. Like you actually feel that emotion. You feel whatever is bothering him. You feel that. And they're like, you know, that's when you know, like, okay, what's really going on? Like, what's happening? Like, is dad really okay? Is dad frustrated? Is dad angry? Is dad hurt? Is dad this? Is dad that? Like, what is really going on? Because we typically don't see dad like this. We
Mhm.
don't. And when we do see dad like this, it's something big, something major, you know. And even then, talking to my oldest, he's like, you know, he's like, yeah, it's like, it just hits different. It really does. It just hits differently. And even then, I'm thinking like, man, I don't think I've ever seen my dad cry like in front of me. Never. I probably heard it, but I've never actually seen him like physically cry like the ugly cry. We got the snot running down your nose and tears in your face, and you just can't stop because everything is just coming out. Like I don't think I've ever seen him get that way. Never.
Mhm.
I've probably never seen him got that way. But you know, my kids, they will tell you like, yeah, we've seen that ugly cry. You know, we've seen it. We've seen that ugly cry, and it's like it's the worst in their eyes. Like it's the worst pain because you really don't know what to say, but it just
Right.
you know love them because it's just we don't know. But
Sometimes
yeah,
you don't need to say anything just to be there.
hmm yeah,
Yeah. And
agreed.
that's definitely a great thing to, to teach your kids cuz it shows like dad is human, you know.
Hmm
Dad can be sad. Dad can be very sad. And sometimes dad just needs you to be there. And
Yes,
yeah, like
yes.
it's no. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're an absolutely amazing father.
Oh, I try to be. But thank you. I appreciate it. I
Yeah.
appreciate it. Y'all getting free parenting tips tonight.
This is mostly L right now.
So just like y'all have to go out and have no, I'm not telling y'all to do that. No, I'm just saying when that moment comes and you're ready to have kids on your own, you can kind of look back at this video or some other videos they've done before, like yeah.
Has officially gotten real.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. You know, it's just one of those things where it's like, and I know we've talked about this plenty of times. And again, Toby, I'm sorry. I know I'm cutting into your minutes. I'm sorry. I'm going to apologize. I'm sorry.
No, you're all good. Honestly, I took the opportunity to get some food. I had it ordered and it came like right around 8:50, 8:40 something. So I didn't get to really eat much before. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna get my little sample of food going on.
There you go.
And it was a good, I guess, monologue. I mean, it was a conversation, but like you had a good piece to say, so don't even worry about that.
I got
it's a very real thing. Something that, I mean, I'll give my little, whatever, how am I feeling, how am I doing piece, but even like going into the topic, I feel like something that Elle especially said is relevant because of the whole TikTok angle. Like you have a whole job and we can be like very online. In the past, I mean, yeah, I think I'll save it a little bit. I might as well go into it a little bit since I already started, but like in the past, I mean, there are people who got in trouble for saying certain things on the clock, like, but they were like, famously, I feel like there were some on YouTube videos where people were news anchors or weather people, and then maybe like they thought the camera stopped, and then they like cursed someone out or they like said something, and then they lost their job, and then or they lost their spot, but that was actually their job, that they kind of did something unprofessional off, like while they thought they weren't being recorded,
right? Yeah.
But now it's a lot different where social media lets anyone be on the camera, not just people who like have the news anchor, the TV stations. I mean, yeah, you've had like people who could upload things to blogs or blogs, and YouTube has been around since like what was it, 2005-ish. But like people weren't really uploading Game Famous like that. Like you mostly had those kind of famous people like Smosh. Trying to think of some really popular ones.
College Humor was pretty.
College Humor, Nigahiga. I think at one point they were like the most popular on YouTube.
Kev Jumba.
Who was that?
Kev Jumba. I think he was before Nigahiga.
I don't think I know Kev. Oof, was that before my time?
Yeah, I think Kev Jumba walks and Nigahiga can run.
Even now, I never heard about Nigahiga. Oh, I think they might have done something with Yang at one point. I know the sushi. What are those, bro? Those people from New York where there was like I forgot the name of them, but they were like
you talking about
something,
bro.
They're like super buff.
Maybe so. Like they. Oh wait, they're talking about Nigahiga.
Are you talking about the Asian dudes?
Well, the Nigahiga definitely, they're Asian. I remember they had like a funny video like how to be nerd, how to be gangster. But like there was a video where like there are these kind of New York City, I guess, foodies. And they had a video with Yang like really early on. And that's when Yang kind of famously was like, I want to un-F you, censor. And he was like, I want to un-F, like this country is F's. And I'd like to be president so I can un-F it. But no, like I forget what that channel was, but I think they've been running around for a while too. They're like Asian too. And they do a lot of like, I want to say vids in New York. But the point is just that like besides some of those big channels, people weren't really getting like mega famous in a matter of time, where like you could like say something and then lose your job. And so that's like a pretty big shift in the media landscape where it's not just like watch your back while you're on the clock, but even when you're off the clock, doing anything. Like you could be on a live stream like this and the next thing you know, oh, who's this person talking about? Oh my God, what was this island that we were talking about?
Oh, like I don't know, like the
gray sweatpants.
Oh yeah. And
it goes against the code of conduct of your job. Watch your back. Oh no, it's like this is an exaggeration in this case, but like I don't know, like people really like for things that shouldn't even be related, they're kind of being maybe quote unquote canceled. And there is definitely a difference between someone like that comedian Shane Gillis saying what he said
About Yang.
slurs. Yeah, Yang, but even overall saying different slurs, and then he gets fired. Which I think the SNL is within their rights, because if they didn't like his humor, and humor is the part of the job, then
True,
they
yeah.
are completely within their rights. But like, it gets a little more tricky. Where let's say he did say some really messed up stuff, and he was going to a completely different job. I mean, I understand that people might not be comfortable with like, hey, this person said these things in the past, and we're working with them, but it's not necessarily even directly related to the job, where now it's like, yeah, we're gonna fire the person. But there's mixed opinions on that. In this case, that woman, I mean, I never even heard the story until you mentioned it, so I think I've just been a little out the loop on some of the kind of pop culture TikTok stuff. I guess technically what she was saying was kind of related to the job, because she was a therapist, obviously, but at the same time, it wasn't, like you said, it sounded like she mentioned names. She wasn't really endangering or like breaking any confidentiality with her clients, so she definitely shouldn't have been fired. Like, I don't think that she should have at all. But it's just interesting how like media, I mean, this isn't exactly the entertainment piece, but media, I mean, it can be. TikTok definitely.
It's entertainment and media.
What, is it TikTok in general?
Wait, say it again. Sorry.
I was saying that TikTok, or at least this video that she was making, isn't necessarily the entertainment piece. I mean, maybe her videos, are entertaining. People watch them because
I feel like it's both.
Yeah. But I just was saying that in general, this like definitely harps onto the media, social media, and how that's changed. Because if you just said even 10, 20 years ago, entertainment and media, you would think a lot more of the cable newsrooms and the late night shows and all these corporate things. But that's become much more, I guess you could say, decentralized, or it's become much more like distributed, or whatever the word you want to use is. Because I mean, you still have a few big players in terms of the apps you use. Even if you're making TikTok videos, you're making it through TikTok. You only have a few social media companies you can really blow up on, but it's still more distributed, where individual people become big at their own versus having to sign contracts or be paid by XYZ. But what was that thing that Rocky just put, or you just put up there? There should be a debate on if it should become illegal for companies to put these wide-ranging morality clauses in their employment contracts. I don't know much about what's actually in those clauses. Even my company, I've definitely not read the code of conduct for a lot of things. I've seen like the dress code, which got massively simplified. Like, funny enough, shortly before COVID started, like 2019, our new like chief, I don't even remember, but basically the lady who's kind of like the whatever, when it comes to like HR and that whole division, the chief people officer, I don't remember the name of it in our, but like she sent out something that was like, here's a new dress code. Basically, it was like, use your best judgment. We're not going to like force you to do anything. And that's good. And then there's other parts of the dress code. I mean, I got in trouble. My manager was like, I believe in free speech, so I don't personally care. But there was a complaint that there was some, what was happening? If you've been straying wrong on social media. Yeah, I mean, I could see that with Nike because they're so big about their brand.
Yeah.
Like, I think there could definitely be like a backfire when you're so fucking strict with your brand, though, because I think it gives, especially like millennials, Gen Z, and Gen Alpha, like younger folk, like just a negative feeling about it. Because I remember a couple of years ago, there was like this TikTok person who loved mixing the color. He worked at Sherwin-Williams, and he loved mixing the colors at Sherwin-Williams, and just he really just enjoyed painting and I think it's like painting walls and stuff, or doing his thing. He was just like giving people tips, and then Sherwin-Williams fired him, even though he wasn't like promoting it negatively. He was like, hey, if you mix this Sherwin-Williams color with this Sherwin-Williams color, you get this. And Sherwin-Williams, it was just getting too, I guess, like they just didn't like so much attention. It's like, I don't know why. It's not like he was like, we're mixing this bear paint with this Sherwin-Williams, or or like, if you make like this bear paint is cheaper, and if you mix it with this Glidden, you get this Sherwin-Williams. Like, no. So like, I could see how it could just have like now like I see Sherwin-Williams and I get like a negative feeling. Even like here's the fact, like a lot of my home is painted in agreeable gray, which is like one of the reasons for the name of my podcast. And I believe agreeable gray, and I have my red wall, which is red bay. I think those are Sherwin-Williams colors, but you can actually get those colors at Home Depot. You just ask them, it's like, hey, I want agreeable gray. They know like the color mix formula to make it, or make it as like as close as it can be, and then you could just buy it. I don't work. Wow. So like, and so it's just sort of like, but like I wouldn't have known that until like I spoke to like my painter. Like if I was just like a young person and like this person on TikTok was talking about these cool paints, I probably would have bought it. But like I was kind of glad not to buy Sherwin-Williams. Just because of that TikTok, just because of the fact that he fired the guy. Now, mind you, it's not like I would have minded buying from Sherwin-Williams. Like if I absolutely had to, then I would have, but I didn't have to. So I was like, even though Home Depot is like kind of right leaning in terms of like their politics from what I hear, but whatever. Like I live really close to Home Depot, so it's just fucking convenient. But
yeah, taking a look, I didn't know. So first of all, I didn't even know what Sherwin-Williams is. That's how you know that I'm not like
right. So like the fact that if this young cat was like continuing to promote Sherwin-Williams, then Sherwin-Williams could have just been the shit. You know, that could have just been that could have been like the Google of paint. You know, it's like, oh, we have to go to Sherwin-Williams. That's where everybody goes. Everybody talks about Sherwin-Williams. Now Sherwin-Williams just. Yeah. I mean, that's my opinion. Who knows? But I do know that Sherwin-Williams was getting a little bit more popular because of him. I mean, Disney fired a director. There's maybe another studio. That's true. Yeah, exactly. Sometimes it doesn't work for the company. I don't know.
Yeah, look at the story. I never even heard about this happening. This was what, November 2020. Oh, of course, there it is. November 2020. There was a lot happening at that time, but it was like November 18th. So yeah. It's interesting. Yeah, that's unfortunate. So they really thought he's fired in late July. Oh, this article came out a while later than. Oh, but I guess all this reporting came out later.
I like the lighting, Toby.
Oh, thank you. I don't know why that just changed. It must have been like an autofocus thing.
Okay.
Because originally I was kind of back here and it was a bit dark, but that's good.
Oh, yeah, I see it's starting to darken again. Oh.
Oops, I should have just stayed put.
It was nice while it lasted.
Oh, no.
I'll forever remember it.
Listen, the lighting's a lot better in person. So. Oh, snap. Hey, look at this. Yeah. Well, not like he was mentioned recently, but earlier in the stream you did.
Yeah. I mentioned you earlier today about as one of my, biggest inspirations for starting my podcast. So thank you again, and shout out to Gil if you haven't listened to his podcast. 3
times on stream, he pops up in the comments.
Exactly. But yeah, if you haven't listened to Gil's podcast, definitely listen to it. It's called The Gil Podcast. You can Google it, and I'll definitely share it in the Discord again. Yeah.
Yes, you are famous.
Yes.
You are a celebrity. You are a celebrity in the Melanated Council. If you ain't a celebrity anywhere else, as far as you know, as far as we know, you are a celebrity here in our own rights, in our own eyes. So
exactly,
you heard it first. And if anybody tells you any different, tell them to come fight me.
Yeah, I'll definitely share it. If Gil wants to share it, he can too.
Yes. Oh, we made a black man blush.
I was about to say.
Oh,
I wasn't gonna say it.
We're all thinking it. But,
Yeah,
listen,
that's the good thing as
blush.
well. Like if you are blush, if you get out of breath, or you're blushing because of something like, you know, being kind of flattered or embarrassed, or of course if you're crushing on someone, that was the big thing when you're younger. No one can see, so it's great. Well, depending on your skin tone though, because if you're lighter, you still.
no, I can apparently blush, and my nose turns red in the cold.
Yeah, actually no, that's a big one. Yeah,
Yeah,
for
and
a
I
lot of
like
black people.
yeah, I'd be called. People would call me Rudolph. It was kind of embarrassing, surprising because I didn't know that. Because this was in college when I was up in Tallahassee. I'm actually wearing my Florida State shirt.
Okay, come on, Florida State.
Yes.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Hold on. We gotta make this clear. That's like the in L's eyes. That's the first real college in Florida. That's the first real. That is the first real college in Florida because the other two colleges they don't matter.
No, they don't.
What
If y'all don't know,
U?
if y'all don't, no, actually no. There's three. Wait, three.
You mean like sports colleges? There's three. Well, I guess. Well, UCF is getting big now.
Yeah,
like we're okay with UCF. Like we're
because UCF is actually in, or is that one actually in Orlando?
It's like pretty much. It's like very close to Orlando.
Because I know UF is Gainesville, which is like it's within 2 hours of Orlando, but like I only know because I was in Orlando for a conference in 2018, and then a bunch of people that I knew. Some of them went to my my undergrad in Maryland. They were going to grad school because this was like a computing conference. So a lot of like my black academic friends who were in grad school at UF, they drove to the conference. And so the UF came pretty deep, like a lot of black and probably some Hispanic computer science grad students. But I was just like, yo, I was like, I did not know anything about the state besides like South Florida is like, you know, Miami type area. I knew Panama City Beach was like in a really random place only because that was a big spring break destination for people every year. But if you told me in Tallahassee, I probably knew of being in the Panhandle, but I didn't know these things. I did not know these things when I was younger.
Yeah, I guess it's considered the Panhandle. Like they have the area code of the Panhandle because it's like right when the Panhandle starts to like curve.
Yeah, it's not all the way deep in the west part, but it's like that most north. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yes, I'm a Seminole. Go Noles.
I do have to ask you when you're because a friend of mine said that she went to Florida State and I suspect that she's around the same age as you. So I was like, wait a second. I meant to ask her graduation year, but your graduation college, what was your college graduation?
I'll tell you off stream.
Oh, that's fine. Okay. I was like, but
good call.
It would be crazy. I mean, it's a big school, I'm sure, but it would have been insane if you guys happened to know each other.
Yeah, like if she's like around my age, you know, like late 20s, early 30s, and if she's black, I might have known. But like, there's still like a lot of black people that just go unknown in the school.
Yeah,
like, I managed to have like crushes on like all the black men that nobody else knew, and I loved it. I don't like when people know who I like.
Fair enough.
And I don't like if they have mutual friends with my friends. Like, nope.
Fair enough.
Man. I did want to talk about, you know, in terms of like, because we were sort of pretty much talking about like, you know, how the future of entertainment and media is going to be like, because people are going to have to be shifting their, like kind of shifting their platforms. Like we sort of saw that. What is it? Only new friends? What? Yes.
I think I kind of see.
I don't know her though. Oh, it's too big time. No, I'm not. But it's
Ah, I love it here.
Popular. You're like the low key popular nerdy student.
like I'm not even gonna like confirm or deny that, because it's weird how like sometimes people just like recognize you, and like I've always thought that like nobody like noticed me. I literally just realized people notice me like this year. Like
Like, what was the high school thing? Like someone that you went to high school with thought that you were your sister, maybe. I forget that story, but it was still confusing to me. Even at the end of it, how you got mixed up with like your sister or something.
Oh no, it was she knew that my sister went to Harvard, but my sister never went to my elementary, middle school, or high school. And like I don't know how she would have like, so I'm like, who do, it's not like I don't know anybody, it's not like I didn't know anybody that she knew, but I'm like, who did I tell that told somebody that told her? Like it was like, how did she know? Because I can understand if one of my siblings who also went to the same high school as me, if they knew. But like also like my sister's like, I mean, she's like 8 years older than me. So that's like 2 full graduations, freshman to senior after me. So that's already like a big age difference. Totally different middle school and high school. Like, like not even close in distance, like so I don't like it was just sort of like, who is talking about my family? Like
Yeah.
But honestly, you bring up a good point. I probably should have realized then that people actually do notice me. But I just felt like that loner, nerdy, awkward black girl, until just like recently. I'm like, oh, people actually notice me.
Yeah, secret admirers.
Yeah, I guess.
Something.
I don't realize it. A lot of. I don't realize it.
Let's go.
No.
That's a classic. I love it.
Yeah.
That would be kind of weird. That would be weird. That would
like
be
they didn't talk to
weird.
any of us.
You just get name dropped and brought up. Like, let's do an audio recognition search and see if your name comes up. Well, it might be difficult. Well, yeah, you could find your first and last name, but they probably wouldn't reference you by your whole government name. So you just have to look for L and just hope that the L in the audio clips matches you, and just search a bunch of TikTok, a bunch of podcasts.
Just Google L
located around here. The audio clips. I'll start the script. I just have to find how to search through podcasts on Castbox or something.
That's
Ish,
so
if you want to help me, we'll just do this part time.
Just Google's L and it just like looks through like all the pages of Google. They find me.
They will have to be really, really bored with absolutely zero to do. Like, nah, I ain't got the time. I ain't got the time.
So,
but move back to L. Go for it.
Oh, so like what I was saying was like, since like I think we're like in this in between of like the old mixing in with the new. So like the old way of things, like what you were saying, Toby, about cable news and how people are like getting to be known and everything. It's a little bit like we're moving away from that, because like like you said, like YouTube. It was like 2004, 2005, I believe it came out, and just a couple of years prior to that, like the only way to really find out about things was radio and TV and like internet news, and like social media wasn't really a thing much back then either. And so like now people have like different ways of promoting themselves and like sharing like what they know, and they can do it pretty easily. You know, you just need a cell phone, which practically everybody has. Or you could just get like a microphone, or you could just use your laptop's microphone and your laptop most likely has a webcam, and you could just start and, you know, just keep doing that. And if you look at literally every big YouTuber, you know, like if you ever see like their beginning videos, or, you know, if they happen to like share their videos from the beginning, like MKBHD does that every so often. Like back when he was like maybe like 13 or 12 or something, when he first started making the videos. And he just kept doing it. You know, he made like 100 videos and he had like 74 subscribers. You know, he just kept doing it and doing it and doing it. But like his first videos were like, you know, shitty. Then eventually he improved and got better. Like Roberto Blake, you know, who has been on the stream like, well, back in 2020. He came on once, and, you know, he always talks about how, you know, he always says to make 100 crappy videos. That's what he always constantly promotes if you listen to his YouTube channel. And it's true. Like, just create, start, and doing things. And like, that's how anyone can really just make it in this field. Of course, not everyone. I guess I could like not everyone's gonna make it big like MKBHD or PewDiePie or any of like those big name YouTubers like Mr. Beast, but, you know, there's still like a fuck ton of people who don't know who Roberto Blake is. I mean, he has like over 500,000 subscribers. Yeah, that's how he makes his living. You know, like he makes YouTube videos, sells merch. So he like, I think it's called like a lifestyle business where, you know, essentially he makes enough money to fit the lifestyle that he wants. So a lot of people can really just do that in this market where they could just, it's like, hey, I'm not trying to be a millionaire or try to make it huge, but I want to be able to make at least 80K a year and, you know, survive off of that, and, you know, I'll be good. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. And there's and like, so I think that because there are so many different ways of generating revenue, generating money online, that this is where the future of entertainment and media, which it practically is, but it's definitely going to, I think it's going to be, if not already, like the main place. Because, and this will be my last point, like, for example, Crystal Ball and Sagar, I forgot his last name, Ntiji or something?
Njedi, I think.
Yeah. They were on The Hill Rising, which of course is like, The Hill is like a massive fucking platform. But they left and went to YouTube for, I think it's called Breaking Points. Like, is the name of their thing. And it's pretty nice because it's pretty like, you know, you have Crystal Ball with her left-leaning points of view, and you have Sagar with his right-leaning point of view, but they're not, you know, like married to their side, which is like how most people are. It's like they're willing to critique their own side, which is nice. Because, like, especially in my opinion, and I'm probably fucking biased, and I'll admit that, like, I feel like on the right-leaning side, they don't really, you know, critique themselves, which you really fucking need to do. I feel like the left critiques themselves a lot, and then the right critiques the left. That's what I see personally. Like, if any of you, and I've said this on the stream many fucking times, if any of you know any conservative, right-leaning, like, people, you know, like talking heads, something that critiques the right at all, or just like, you know, just, or at least explains their points of views, you know, like their policy positions, like what the left can do that it could be better for the, you know, for people who are like in like rural areas or something, or what the right isn't doing in like the local places, or like, you know, just like critiquing being upset. Like if anybody knows anybody like that, please let me know, because I'm so fucking tired of trying to find somebody and you're like, oh, this is like a black conservative, let me see what they have to say, and then like their pinned tweet is like, black conservative totally owns white liberal about Black Lives Matter. Like, God damn.
Like, can we get one good one? Can we get one? Just one.
Just have like a casual conversation and nothing that's like attacking the left. Can it just be like, hey, I really liked what Mitch McConnell did because of this, and that. It's like, I usually don't like Mitch McConnell, but thank you for sharing this. I didn't know. Like, that's it.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people who kind of come from like, oh, the left is, you know, all this, they're out of control, it's XYZ. So you have a lot of people popping up who maybe weren't even personally that hardcore conservative, but it's an easy thing to kind of like. Trigonometry is literally the name of a channel. And actually, I think some of the people on there aren't necessarily the most right leaning, but it like trigonometry. I mean, okay, the name of itself is kind of funny. I can't even lie. But like,
at first I thought you literally said trigonometry, and I was like, oh, they have like a math channel, and I was like, oh, you know, trigonometry.
Trigonometry, and that's like, you're gonna see a lot of people like that who they're probably more likely to like basically say how, oh, this person's too woke and whatever, versus actually having people. I would say maybe PragerU. I mean, I feel like a lot of people don't like PragerU, but at least they make these kind of informational videos that are explaining their side, I think, a little bit more. But I feel like it also is going to turn into left bashing no matter what. So, but it would be interesting to kind of see more information. I think Hillsdale College, I mean, they're more libertarian, I think, but I think they have some videos on stuff explain why they kind of have their limited government philosophy. And I wouldn't mind listening to stuff like that to actually kind of hear that point of view. You've been owned by facts and logic.
I know. Like, I fucking hate the facts and logic.
My God, I can't do the Ben Shapiro whole.
I feel like neckbeards just like get off on facts and logic. Like, when they hear that, it's like, I hate it. It's like, and then you listen to it, I'm like, okay. Like, somebody got owned by facts, and it was like, so
who was it? There was a video. It wasn't Ben Shapiro, but it was another channel that had a clip of Ben Shapiro, because like Megan Rapinoe was having her kind of spiel about the equal rights, equal pay with like with women's soccer, and like basically Ben was saying something like, it's not equal pay, like all this. Like, would you want to go on the field with a bunch of men? I mean, you know how he talks. Would you want to go on the field with a bunch of men? Do you think you could beat them or whatever? And so he was kind of saying his thing, and then the whole comments were basically just dunking on her, how she looks, because, you know, she has like her like cut. So I'm like, this isn't really productive and useful. Like, this isn't a useful conversation and discourse. But like, I feel like that's kind of what you get. Even though I remember when there was a whole big outcry over like the equal pay thing, there was evidence, and I wish I could find the story so I'm not actually just saying false things. But there was more revenue, or more like advertising dollars. There was more interest in the women's World Cup. I mean, they've won way more than the men have. And there was like at one point more like actual money being brought in, or where there was better performance, there were better metrics, better ratings, there was better something. And I remember even one guy, a friend of mine on Facebook, who like was fighting to the death over this until a bunch of us pointed out, like, you know, that the women actually win more and brought in more. And then he was like, oh, oops, I'll take this L. And I was like, yeah, because I feel like, I mean, he's not even like a conservative guy. He was like, literally, I knew him through National Society of Black Engineers, and nothing that it was about him screamed right. But, you know, there's just a sort of bias in a lot of these things. And I feel like even when it's like clearly, here's the argument, there's still that like, I don't know, it's difficult to have like a real conversation about it because automatically you're just dismissed. But anyways, that's just something that I thought of when you mentioned the facts and logic thing, because people don't always have their facts and logic. Great. Yeah, Ben, I don't know, like I never really watched him personally. I never watched those videos where he like made college students cry or whatever the heck. I didn't really care enough, to be honest. And it's actually interesting because like all these people aren't even on the same side of like the right. Like I think Ben is a bit more, in some ways, he's a bit more pro-military. I don't want to say pro-military, but like it was interesting seeing like how people were comparing Ben to like Tucker and some other people. Where like Ben, Ben, I know he is Jewish, and like he's much more pro-Israel in some ways. I think Tucker, like not that, and Tucker, like he'll have his like criticism of the establishment. And he actually basically he didn't criticize Trump, but he criticized people who almost brought us to war with Iran. Like he was like the only person basically on the right saying this is insane that we just literally fired a missile and assassinated an Iranian general, and the war machine is in full effect. But he didn't criticize Trump at all. He just said he criticized people in the war machine. And around the same time, Matt Gaetz voted for legalizing marijuana. So it was like Matt Gaetz was trending on Twitter. Tucker Carlson was trending on Twitter. This is both like early 2020. And it's like, what? The world's gone to hell because somehow these two are saying things that progressives are agreeing with. But but the point is, like with Tucker, with Ben, with a lot of people, it's not even like the exact same. And I know this kind of was a little more relevant to our other conversation about future of politics, but it's still important for media. It's like a lot of different media. Like even there was a big thing with Sean Hannity and Tucker Carlson disagreeing about like workers and kind of like, because not that Tucker is a super pro worker, but I feel like he has a little more of the populist lean in some ways. And so whether it was about jobs being, I think, shipped overseas, and he talked about automation too, because that's why him and Yang ended up having a pretty friendly exchange on Tucker's show. And I guess Tucker was kind of saying something about like, companies basically have done all this outsourcing and this automation hurting the worker, and then Sean Hannity was taking over. So literally they had like a split screen, and they were like kind of not really debating it, but like as Sean was about to take over his program, he kind of said like a really shady thing. He was like, "Yeah, well, I think workers have companies have the right to do what they want for the economy." And they didn't really like go back and forth on it, but it was a pretty big publicized thing at the time. Like, there's a fissure between Sean Hannity and Tucker Carlson. And so it was interesting to see who's a little more institutionalist, more pro business at all costs, pro military at all costs, and then people who are a little more willing to buck some of those institutions, even if they say a whole bunch of other things I don't really agree with at all, like the wokeification of the military. And there's a lot of things that I don't think were really that necessary to jump onto fighting with woke generals. But anyway, that's a whole nother thing. Let me see what the comments are saying here.
Yeah.
Good.
I'm sorry.
Were you putting something up? I was just saying.
I was going to put that one up. I think me and somebody else clicked at the same time. So I'm sorry.
You're good. Great minds, man. We both tried to click the same thing.
Right. No, I was gonna say with Gail, like I'm with you. Like there's some videos with Ben. Like, okay, I get your point. And then there's some other times Ben goes off. I'm like, bro, you lost me like after like the 5-second mark. Like soon as you started speaking, I'm like, your voice just irritates me. Like I'm just gonna shut you off because I already know what you're gonna say. And another one, Louder with Crowder. There was something like, okay, like what do you got to say, and how do you want folks to change your mind? And I'm like, okay, I hear what you're saying, but dude, I think you're going about this the wrong way. Like the one example where he was saying like he's pro-life and everything else. Like he's like, but change your mind. Like I'm open to having discourse of like why should I be pro-choice instead of pro-life, and a lot of the women who actually gave this man the opportunity to sit down and explain their case from the mother's perspective, he was like, okay, like I hear what you're saying, but what about this? What about that? Does that not matter? And even one woman was like, well, if you're so worried about this, then do you not care about the mother of the child? Like, would you rather have the mother die on the table while giving birth, or have the mother to try again at a later time. And even then, he could not answer that. He did not have an answer. He just kept going back to the same old conservatives talking points. And I'm like, dude, she put it as realistic as possible. Like, if your wife was on the delivery bed and the doctor told you literally, because she can't make the decision, if we do not abort this baby, your wife is going to die right here. She's going to die. Do you want to abort? And it's like, he would have been like, no, she could die. Like, bruh, really? So you mean to tell me that your wife is basically like expendable? Like, you could find another wife, but like, this is the person who you've probably known for half of your lifetime. Like, you can't. No. Ain't
right,
no way.
exactly.
Ain't no way. Like, you are a clown. Like, sir, you are a clown. You are a clown. Like, nah. I had to turn him off because he was making my blood boil bad.
Oh yeah.
He my blood boil bad. I'm like, bruh, shut up. Please.
Right. No, because
please just shut up.
I feel as though it's just one of those, like, either, you know, like they're just lying, or it's one of those things that they're not, like, they're gonna believe their point until it happens to them. Like, it's sad because this situation can happen to like their sister, their female friend, like their female coworker, or whatever, and it still wouldn't click until they see it, like when they're in the hospital with their wife, you know, like they were happy to be bringing a child into the world, and then they're like, well, I can either bring a child into the world, or my wife is going to leave the world, or my wife is going to stay in the world, and we could try again.
Yes.
We're going to do a healthcare question. I wasn't in a happy marriage. I mean, it's true. Some people are like in some really. I didn't read. Like, sometimes people are in some really shitty marriages, and they're just like grinning and bearing it through it. Rudy dressed as a woman, went to the gym, and acted obnoxious until they finally kicked him out. I would think he was trying to prove a point about trans. That's so fucked up. That's so weird too. Dressed as a woman and was acting obnoxious. It'd have been different if he was like dressed as a woman and was just working out like a normal person. You know, like, would he have gotten some stares? I'm sure. Because, you know, his legs were probably hairy, or his chest was probably really hairy, or, you know, depending on how he was dressed, you know.
Sorry.
So like, I'm sure like that would have been the extent. I'd be like, okay, you know.
Right.
It's like, that is but like the fact that he was just acting obnoxious is that's because he's like trying to stir up something. I'm sure if he just went in and dressed as a woman and was normal, like, I won't say like he wouldn't have gotten shit. I'm sure like there will be like some ignorant fucker like that is possible, but like if he's like trying to stir up shit, that's fucking stupid.
Yeah. Yeah. I still think he's an idiot. I don't care. I'm gonna say he's an idiot.
Yeah.
What you gonna do?
I don't remember.
You don't want to.
I know, like, he's that guy that changed my mind, whatever, and you know, it could be a funny meme for sure. But I don't know if I've seen the actual videos where it's like something changed my mind. Like, I really just don't think I've seen. Like, I think I've seen something. Oh, I wish I could remember what it was. He had like his cup, right? Oh, I think what he was doing was he was doing a reaction video to like maybe the Democrat debates or something that he perceived was like out of control lefts, and he was like drinking. Oh, I remember what it was. He was reading possibly the Green New Deal because he was like, no one wants to read it. He was like, no one's reading it. Why won't anyone read this? Like, you know, there's clearly has something to hide. Why can't anyone just read this thing? So he basically started reading through the Green New Deal and was like drinking probably his liberal tears mug or whatever. And he was like, you know, snickering his way through it while like trying to read and drink the thing. So that was why I remember seeing that video, but that was a long time ago. That couldn't have been later than 2019 because the Green New Deal was introduced way back in like possibly. Well, AOC came into office. Oh yeah, so the 2019 makes sense because she came into office January 2019. So that's why I knew of Crowder. But I don't remember if I really saw any of his like actual confrontational videos that he became more famous for. But that's also there's another guy. I saw a random short by him recently. Not Run Don't Walk. I don't Run Don't Walk. I found Run Don't Walk because he had a video trashing Yang. But there weren't that many people on the right who were posting about him at that point because he kind of was in political, not relevancy, but he was very much a neophyte. But who was this other guy that I can remember his name? Ijad.
Okay, SAT word neophyte.
Oh, read too many of these articles.
Does that mean like a beginner, right? Like a novice?
Yeah, because neo is like new. So you're political. I mean, Ron DeSantis was described that way, even though he was a rep. I didn't know he was a congressman. I had no idea who he was before.
Yeah, I don't know if he was a congressman either. Oh no, I think I did. I don't know. All I know is that he's just terrible.
Oh yeah, today was y'all's primary, so I hope that turns into something useful for the fall.
I mean, Charlie Crist won, and I didn't want Charlie Crist, but whatever.
Yes.
I saw an article today. I was reading an article today about that actually. That he's kind of become this. Oh yeah, the article was like this one, like the one woman kind of. She was supposed to be leading she's supposed to be a new hope for Democrats in the state, but then until like a primary opponent got between her and DeSantis, and so that was a Politico article, and I guess she had the whole like Star Wars New Hope type thing where she's the resistance against DeSantis in his reign, but then Charlie Crist kind of did I didn't even know who this man was. He was a one-term governor. Did he lose? Did he resign? I don't know what he did.
He was a Republican governor. And then he later became independent after. I think he was a one-term governor.
Yeah, he was one term, but I have no idea why.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can't remember.
I read that. I read that article. It was actually quite interesting.
Yeah, it was interesting because I don't know much about the mechanics of a lot of what happens in Florida. So just kind of seeing some of the different actors and how a lot of people had supported Freed, but apparently, I mean, and maybe you can give a different take because you actually live in the state and you follow these people more closely. Like you've talked about Nikki Fried a lot more, but based on what I saw, she kind of built up her social media profile early. We kind of had some prolific stuff there, but didn't necessarily court the actual players on the ground, like a lot of the political sort of different groups. Charlie Crist did not do a very big Twitter or social media presence, but he spent a lot of time courting people on the ground, trying to convince them that he was a good Democrat, even though he switched like twice from Republican to Independent to Democrat. Mm-hmm. And eventually people who had even endorsed Freed switched their endorsement to Crist. And a lot of like some of that happened because the like maybe it was a rep who switched, but then they actually saw more of the local leaders on the ground were much more enthusiastic about Crist. And then it was kind of the Trump dynamic where it's like, who's the best to take him on, right? Versus who do I really like? And so a lot of people felt, I guess, that Crist was the one who was the best, even if we didn't want him as our first choice. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen in that race. I'm not to be a downer. I'm not optimistic either way, regardless of who won to actually beat DeSantis. But it was just kind of interesting because I was not following anything about the primary. And then in Florida, I think Val Demings is pretty much secured. Originally, there was other people who were running to beat Marco Rubio, like even as early as 2020 and early 2021. There was a black guy who was like more progressive. I think even he supported UBI at one point because I saw him in our McCoy Twitter group.
Yeah, and like I thought he was going to be on the ballot, but he wasn't. But I think he's running for like maybe like a more local thing. So I guess he's like kind of still around, but not as much. But Val Demings did actually win her primary, so that's good.
Yeah, I feel like that had to be a shoe-in at that point. And I know Maxwell Frost, I got a text that he won because I don't think I've contributed to this campaign, but I'm getting his updates for the past like month or so. And so that's pretty big because apparently that was Val Demings' seat, which is obviously very much in the institution.
Oh,
So
Maxwell Frost is the dude in Orlando, like the young Gen Z kid.
the Gen Z guy, and I mean, if
Right.
that's a reliably blue seat, then nothing's guaranteed, but like that's not a seat that looks like it's gonna be lost. So this man, I mean, yeah, he's a man, like he's the Gen Z, but this man is about to be the
No,
first Gen Z member of Congress. And he's
yeah.
like right at the forefront of like stuff with the gun control. I don't know if he was friends with someone who went to Parkland or what it was, but he had a pretty strong connection
Right.
to Parkland
Yeah.
somehow. And he had some other pretty obviously this don't say gay. I think he interrupted DeSantis around but that was because of gun control. He interrupted like I think was it Dave Rubin was having some kind of podcast or interview with DeSantis, and Maxwell Frost barged in and interrupted it, saying like, "What are you going to do about all this gun violence?" Because that happened after Uvalde, and DeSantis was like, "Nobody wants to hear from you." It's like a pretty big interaction that happened. But now he can kind of get the last laugh and be like, "Well, you're going to hear from me regardless because I'm going to be a member of Congress in your state."
Right. True.
Not a state level legislator, but still.
Right, but they still that it's still important because of if he's going to be a member of the House, then he still has like some kind of say. Like, well, yeah, like not like for the country, but even like for the state for sure.
Yeah.
Which is
you
like
can bring local money to your district, and so there's definitely a lot there.
and just like being able to pass more progressive policies, because just because like this person is a Democrat doesn't mean like they're progressive, which is different. Like if you can like at least support like legalizing marijuana and making sure like the former felons don't have to like pay like their court fees and that bullshit just so they can vote, and just to be able to just do anything, because like I'm sure there's some Dems in some seats who are just kind of sitting there because it's just reliably blue and they just don't give a fuck. Like like there's, regardless of which side you lean, like there's seats like that all over the country. So it's like, well, this position always goes run unopposed. I'm just gonna sit my ass here and just collect a check.
Right.
Yeah.
But oh, sorry, what are you gonna say, Ron?
No, I had a thought.
Yeah, say it.
It reminded me of the time I went to the St. Joseph County Democratic Party's meeting, and I basically vented my frustration to the party because it's like, okay, it reminds me of going to a country club, but what are you doing to reach out to other people who don't look like you, who don't act like you, who don't think like you, who's probably not within your age group? Like, what are you proactively doing? Because whatever it is, quite frankly, it sucks. It sucks. And like, and again, we have these people who are running for office, and they're like, and especially if they're running in our district, like, okay, show your face. Like, don't just say, oh, vote for me, and do this, that, and I'll do this, that, and the third. And I don't even know what you even look like. Like, how am I supposed to vote for you if I don't know what you look like? How am I supposed to vote for you if I don't hear what your position is? I can read what your position says, but I want to hear you articulate, what do you mean? What are you planning to do? How are you going to help out our community? Because right now, the current person who is supposed to be our representative at the state legislature, he sucks. So what are you going to be doing differently? And even then, can you put in term limits? Is that something that you are for or against? Like, help me out to make sure that I don't vote for you because vote blue no matter who. Like, no, I want to vote because I matter, and I hope that you take my concerns legitimately and
Right.
do something about it. Because if
Absolutely.
not, no, ain't no way. Ain't no way.
Yeah, you gotta let them know too that
So, yeah.
like, you know, danger of democracy. We get it. The other side is terrible, but like there needs to be incentives for people, because it's like there are those of us who follow things more closely and who are more inclined to vote anyway. But then there's people who really aren't, and like you can't just act like everyone is your loyal base of supporters, because there are people who are just like, why am I voting for you? My life hasn't changed. Like was it Jamie Harrison who was running for South Carolina Senate against Lindsey Graham? I mean, he did a phenomenal job with his campaign fundraising. He outraised Lindsey for like multiple quarters in a row, but still lost by like 10 points. It's South Carolina. What can you do? But he at one point was saying, like, you know, this dirt road. He talked to this one guy, like an older black guy, some like rural area, and he was like, "You see that dirt road? This dirt road has been here unpaved like this, regardless of whether it was a Democrat or a Republican who was in office or whatever." And so then he walked back in the house, and he was saying like, this was like some email or text message, because I was getting updates from him, and he was like, you know, he's kind of hurt by the interaction, felt like he was shut down, but then he kind of realized, well, this is symbolic in a lot of ways, where there are people whose the dirt road hasn't changed. Healthcare, rural healthcare hasn't changed. Like a lot of things have just not changed for a lot of people. And so there's people where it's just like, my life has not been different, regardless of whether it was the R or the D in office or yada, 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 yada. And so if you're offering anything, people ain't going to be inclined. But
exactly. Exactly. No, I agree. I agree with him. I do. I agree. I definitely agree. Like, if you're not going to do anything to help me to get to point A to point B in a safe manner, I don't care who you are. For all I know, you could be I vote for an independent, because at least the independent is going to take my concerns into consideration and at least get something done. At least something, rather than just sit there, you know, collect the check, be there for like the rest of the career, come out, still collect the check, but yet at the same time, I'm still driving on this crappy road for the past 50, 60 years, and you said that you're going to do something about the road, but yet you've done nothing. So come on, help me to make it make sense.
Yeah.
True. I did want to talk about how, like, sometimes when a politician has like a big media, like a social media presence, like it could work in their favor, but other times like it just can't. And I don't know, like, you know, especially like in regards to like, because I mean, how we like consume media, like it also, like, I'm trying to word this, like, I guess like what is the disconnect between, I don't know if it's like if they're trying to get young voters out and it's just not working all the time. Like I don't know, because like sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Like I've told you that like you know, like Omari Hardy, like who I know personally, like when he went viral, like I feel like that helped him boost his, like at least winning one of his seats. Like he won like this seat in Palm Beach County, but it didn't help him win the seat in my county in Broward, where when Alcee Hastings, when he passed away, I can't remember who even won that seat. But anyway, like it didn't seem to help him, but like I think it helped him like initially for like the other seat. So like I feel like there's this weird disconnect between getting politicians like into social media and like trying to get people to vote versus people who are actually voting. And I'm not quite sure like what the difference is. Hey.
We say that. Hey.
Maybe Julia.
Look at that. Oh yeah.
Hey.
West Coast coming in.
So I guess like
Oh no, you good.
Oh sorry. So I guess like what like I don't know how to like really formulate this question, but it's just like a big like pain point for me because I don't know. I don't know if people just think like they're pandering. I don't know if people are just assuming like, oh well, they're so popular, you know, they're gonna win anyway. Like there were people who were thinking Andrew Yang was gonna win, and he clearly didn't. Like in terms of like the mayor for New York.
Mhm.
But I don't know. Maybe it's just like maybe I don't have like a good understanding of like what's actually going on the ground. But like I don't know. I guess like to tie it into the conversation, like what if we're going towards the future? Are politicians too early in adopting social media in order to promote, or are they just not doing it correctly? Or like if there's like a disconnect between the voters and social media?
Okay, I see where you're going with this.
Okay, thank you, God.
And no, you're good. No, you're good. And actually, I'm going to come from the standpoint of the campaign advisor's role. I'm gonna come from that role, and basically like help tie in the question what you're asking because it is very crucial and it's very key. So when I was the campaign advisor for Ease, that was the one that was a few things that me, her, and her campaign manager, you know, that's what we talked about. Like, you know, okay, so how should we go about sending out our messages and this and the third? And both me and her campaign manager, we agree, like, you know, you should take to social media because that's where a lot of your younger generation, a lot of times, that's how they get their news. Whether it's Facebook, whether it's TikTok, whether it's Twitter, whether Instagram, you know, something that they can like get a quick snapshot of what you're doing, what you're trying to do, what's your vision, and keep it to the point where it captures their attention. Like you got that. Like, but overall, because a lot of your voters who actually go out and do midterms, primaries, the governor's elections, the
YouTube,
the mayor's elections, the city, like a lot of your actively involved voters, majority of the time, they're not going to be on social media. They're not. You're going to have to physically walk down their neighborhood, walk to their doorstep, knock on the door, and let them know, hey, this is who I am. Here's what I want to do. Can I count on you Can I count on your vote? Can I count you to vote for me when election time comes? And so it was a combination of, okay, so we need a combination of boots on the ground and boots on social media to push out like what it is we need to get done, what it is that we need to do, how we need to go about doing it. Like, yeah, sure, like let's do it. You know, which is the reason why between me, Boyce, aka Mindful Skeptics, because she was running for our district to represent us at the state level, we had no problems. Like, you know, if she just said, hey, can I get an extra retweet on this tweet? Sure, why not? What do you think is good? Boom. Hey, can I get an extra, you know, retweet on this and share it to your social media? Okay, sure, great. Boom, that's done. Can you help me do this, that, and the third? Okay, sure, great. Boom, that was done. But because of the fact that, again, a lot of the younger voters, they were grasping onto it, but at the same time, it was like, okay, we get what you're trying to say, we get what you're trying to do, but you want me to leave my house to go find a polling place to stand in line for X amount of hours, X amount of minutes to go vote, and when I could possibly use that time to do something a little bit more productive, So it's like trying to thread the needle, but at the same time, the hole of your needle is too small and your thread is too big. So it's like it's not going to work. Versus, you're more so your seasoned voters who they just go like, okay, this is your vote. You want me to come out and vote for you? Well, let me hear what you're going to say, just in case, to see if you line up with my values. And if you line up with my values, got you. I'm going to vote for you. If you don't, it was good hearing from you. It was good meeting you, but you're not my candidate. That was fine. That was fine. And even still, a lot of times with a lot of the seasoned voters, they were, a lot of times they couldn't get to the polling. They're like, could we vote for you via absentee ballots? Like, yeah, sure, you could do that. There's multiple ways of where you could vote and whatnot. It's just, we just want to know if we can count on you to vote during election time. Yeah, sure, go ahead. Like, who are you again? Oh yeah, Mimi. I got family that's here, born, lived here, and everything else. I was raised here. I know what it takes to make this county, this district vibrant. I know all of this. Like, my roots trace back to here. Went to Dowagiac High School. Like, she was naming all these things that she's done just to solidify like she's legit from this community. And when it came to her opponent, again, wasn't from the community, had no roots at all, had no ties to the area because he came from a different district. And so even though he had an R next to his name, and of course, we live in a very highly Republican county, city, like, oh yeah, we're going to go ahead and vote for you because you're Republican, just because, we don't care about anything else, but because you're a Republican, we also going to vote for you because you like Trump and you support Trump. So yes, that's a shoe in the door. And then, oh yeah, you're pro-life and you're pro-guns. Oh yeah, we're definitely going to vote for you, even if we think you're a whack job, even if we think that you should not be here because you don't qualify, we're still going to vote for you anyways. Like, wow, thank you for not even giving her a second thought.
Right, exactly.
But yeah, and so it's I would say for the most part, a lot of politicians, they use it incorrectly, meaning that the only time you actually hear from them is if it's during election season, which equates to pandering. Once election season is done and over with, you don't hear from them at all. Like, they're just ghost, MIA, until the next election cycle. And so it's like, okay, if you want to engage the social media aspect of things, reach out to people who actually matter and still keep in contact with them, regardless if you win or lose, because this is your base. These are the people who you're going to basically reach back out to again and be like, hey, I know I lost and everything else, but can I really get your support? Because I think we really do have a good, clear shot. I still think that the policies, the initiatives, the whatever I have in place, I think this is what you need. I think this is what the community needs. Can I get your vote? Start there, but at the same time, make sure you have enough boots on the ground to cover any votes that you may not get or any kind of support that you may not get online through social media. You can still get it through the old school, knocking on the doors, handing flyers and pamphlets of information, and just having that general conversation, and just to literally see where they're at.
You make a great point, because like, it's true when you usually just hear like hear from them on like election around election time. And I don't know if that's probably because like that's when like they're their most active on social media, because like they're trying to, so like then more people are following them and engaging with them, so that then you hear about them more. But I was thinking about how Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, AOC, like she's pretty active on the socials, just like
Yes.
even like during her like just her working, because she's an elected official, but she still talks about stuff like on Instagram. She goes on live occasionally and talks to
Yes.
people, and people start to question, like ask questions, and she answers them, and so that's definitely like a way of like for her to like engage with her audience, because she's speaking to pretty much anybody. It's not necessarily her district, but people definitely see that.
Yes.
I mean, oh yeah. So I know that Joe Biden, when he was Obama's vice president, apparently like he would have long conversations with like if him and Barack were, I don't know, doing something where they're on the campaign trail or something. Obama said how like Obama would be at like the very end of like the group of people, and he looked back and he'd see Joe like way in the back, still talking to like the fifth person, just having like a long conversation and like really talking to them. And it was just, and like, even though I've never experienced that myself, it was just kind of like, when I heard that, it made a little bit more sense as to why he won the Democratic primary. Because a lot of people were like, oh, it's because he was Obama's vice president. And I'm sure that fucking helped immensely. I'm not going to deny that.
Agreed. I agree with that one.
Like, it didn't not help, but I do think, I'm sure like the relationships that he created with people definitely helped him probably a little bit more, because I don't think, like, no matter what happens like with like in the future in terms of like how we share things, like word of mouth is always going to be number one. Like because I feel like until like you start talking to people who share your views, you may not really hold on to those views as much until like like you might just be quietly thinking that the earth is flat, and then like you start like some sort of podcast or forum, something like this, something akin to this, and other people are like, yeah, I also think the earth is flat, or like like they may start in like a Reddit group, and then it might spread out into like YouTube or something, and they just sort of, but like actually hearing and seeing still like word of mouth confirmation, so I mean, but yeah, but I do think like, sorry, I'm kind of blanking. Like, but I do, like, no, I'd say for sure word of mouth is, yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
No, you're good.
I already said my point. Like, word of mouth is definitely.
No, you're good.
I feel like it makes the most impact. It's like,
Yes.
Because a lot of people, went like totally against Yang, for example. However, because like we know him and like met him personally, whether virtually or in person, it's like a little bit different.
Yes.
So it's like I can like literally say it's like, yeah, and like the person you see on CNN is like, but it's like I do know like deep down overall he is like a really good, genuine person.
Yes.
I may not agree with a lot of the shit that he says. Some of the shit like irritates you, just like that may irritate you, irritates me. It's one of the reasons why we are now the Melanated Council. However, Because it's like how we collect it, where it's like let's get away from that. Uh, but I'm not gonna say that like it's not like I don't support the Forward Party at all. It's like I'm more of like let me wait and see.
Mm-hmm.
Let me wait and see. I'm not out here like defending it. That's not my purpose on Twitter. But I'm like, let me wait and see this what happens. I'm not totally against that. That's what I just want to then you can help a campaign for someone who's actually from the community. It's not funding and about making it. No, for sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And even then, with her race, it was epic on two things. Even though she did lose, the one thing was she was the only Democrat that ran for the same seat that actually had enough votes that she actually could have won.
Mhm.
And even then, the other thing that went for her was she had the most votes that any Democratic person running for that same seat had, hands down. Hands down. Like she had the most. And even still, because of the fact that, she was making those connections, she was making those points as far as, okay, yes, I know what it's like to grow on a farm because I actually have a farm. I raise chickens. I do this. I got this. I got that. So like I get it. I understand where you're coming from. And yes, it's frustrating if the rain season doesn't happen when you want it to and your crops don't grow the way how you want them to, because that's your livelihood and that's your bread and butter, because that's all you know how to do. Like I get that. Been there, done that. Like, so I'm trying to help you to get unscrewed without you getting screwed all over again and told that you're not getting screwed all over again, And even then, a lot of the farmers were like, yeah, we hear what you're saying. You're sounding good, like, but we're still gonna go with this guy because the other guy says he's gonna do A, B, C, D, E, F, G. But at the same time, when we look at that record, that man ain't did nothing.
Mhm.
Not a dime. Y'all still stuck at point A. You're still trying to get past point A. It's like, nah. You got sold and you got suckered in. So
You know what I see AOC do, which I think a lot more politicians should do if they're not already, is like, let's say, like, I don't know, like a bill or something is trying to get passed. A lot of like what they can definitely do is like, let's say, like they vote no on something, and then like on Twitter and social media and TikTok or Instagram, everywhere, just explain why they voted no or why they voted yes. And like if they actually like really just go through why they did what, it's like, yeah, like this bill may have sounded good from the name, however, like there was a clause here that would have XYZ'd, and this is why. Because I think what's really missing from a lot of the discussion is just good old fashioned knowledge. Like, because a lot of people are very like, they don't want to admit it, and I'll admit it for myself, like, are ignorant and like not too knowledgeable of just like what exactly the bill contains. And that could be incredibly problematic. And it's one of those things where it's like, does it even matter what's like in the bill, depending on like how local people or the people start to like use that bill, or like start to use that law? Because sometimes like they like, let's say AOC was like, yeah, I voted no because there was a clause, there was a sentence that was just very vague, and knowing the history of this country, people like police would have taken advantage of that, and or like local politicians or like would have taken advantage of that or you know or whatever. So it's like you got to definitely just like write it out in stone as to like what the fuck this is trying to do, because a lot of vagueness keeps getting passed in Florida, and it's just like when vague shit happens, people just try to err on the side of caution. So like for example, like the whole "don't say gay" thing. Like there's like super vague ass shit, you know, and it's like, so I can understand why like teachers and you know school board and people are just trying to be as erring on the side of caution, which is you know incredibly hurtful for you know like the LGBTQ students who you know no longer feel comfortable coming out to like a teacher, a guidance counselor, a friend, or anything, because if they have to, because like if they have to feel if like they might, because the teacher, guidance counselor, or whatever may have to feel like they're forced to out that student, which could be detrimental to like their household or whatever. But like because like everything's really like fucking vague, or they sort of just like they just err on the side of caution, remove all the rainbow flags or the rainbow stickers, and you know if a teacher is gay, it's like they can't talk about it. Or if the student asks like, "Oh, who are you dating?" and it's like a woman art teacher, and she's like, "Oh, I'm dating, you know, this girl Susie," that you know, then she can be fired. Like that did actually happen to an art teacher. I forgot what grade she taught. It was pretty young. It was like elementary school. So she was like an art teacher, and she just like explained that she was pansexual and that she was, you know, I guess dating a woman at the time. But it was like I think people kind of just shy away from the word sex because it's like if you're heterosexual, homosexual, demisexual, pansexual, asexual, bisexual, then it's you hear the word sex and therefore it's bad. But I understand that it's like a complicated topic and like we're still learning about it, but it's I don't know. I don't know. Like it's when shit's vague, like then people like to err on the side of caution and just like you know fire people. But unfortunately, y'all, like I do have to run.
Yes.
But don't worry, Toby and Ron are still gonna be here and hanging out with you all. I love you
We will
guys,
do as
and
we
I'll
can.
yes, yeah, because they can, I can't. I'm not cool enough to hang.
10
Oh,
minutes from 22. Please stop that. Oh, being why can't 2,000 people show? What? Oh, why only 2,000 people showed up to my party? Why not 5,000?
Yeah, I know that was funny, but yeah. So I gotta run. Love you all. I'll see you next
love
week.
you. See ya.
Bye.
Bye. All right. So we are still going to be continuing on our discussion with the future of entertainment and media, of course. When we think about media, we want to also include social media because a lot of times the road of entertainment and media, they tend to blend a lot and they tend to cross over each other, tongue tied. And so it's just very unique as far as how it could look in the near but distant future. And so, and again, we've been talking about this whole month has been talking about the future of this, the future of that, the future of this, the future of that. Because towards the end, a lot of these videos that we've been doing is going to basically lead up to the tail end, which we're going to discuss about another future topic. So, excuse me. So, gotta stay tuned for that. But Toby, did you have anything you want to add, chime in as far as tonight's topic goes? Any questions?
So I know with one thing I just thought of was like the future of, I mean, just kind of how like media personalities. I mean, they've had to become more and more entertaining in different ways.
Mhm.
I mean, whether it's the whole like shenanigans of like presidential debates having to become this whole like thing for ratings, or even like with Tucker Carlson. I mean, at one point, I think he had to defend himself in court saying that what he was doing was entertainment and not really news, and that you couldn't expect that the things that he was saying to be fully true. Like, I'm gonna actually find that because I couldn't believe that that was like a real verdict or a real defense. And that's not just him. I think other people have made the same defense that we're more of entertainment than news, and so you can't expect everything to be 100% accurate, which is actually insanity. But that's kind of how the business model is, and so they kind of openly admitted this is more for entertainment than actual facts. And
Wow.
you could say that even some independent media, I mean, they get to be more and more clickbaity, right? Because they want to like, you want to have these kind of things that even like breaking points, which I love. I mean, I love the concept of breaking points. I like Crystal and Sagar Rising. They've had different guests, but I definitely think overall I like the work they do. But they're still gonna draw people in a way that's very like entertaining, and you're gonna have these very like clickbaity titles. Now let me see. Why do we let these laws be purposefully written big?
Mhm.
Good question. I know I didn't catch everything at the very end because I had to get on a call with my family and then following up on
Yeah.
some stuff. But yeah, that's an interesting point. Like I've seen that in general. Like things get written very vaguely. I actually just saw this in the context of Trump, um, and the raid that happened. That there were certain things that might be very broad, when it comes to the Fourth Amendment and searches and seizures, or even the searches and seizures of the Fourth Amendment. But even like when it comes to, I think, the warrants, um, that there wasn't necessarily a very narrow view of what was being looked for or could be taken. Not at all defending Trump in that, but it was an interesting thing that was floated that like when some things or statutes or whatever aren't written very specifically, they could be used kind of to any mean. Um,
Mhm.
so I don't know. I always got to play in the catch.
Yeah.
uh,
But you know what? In light of that, which is funny, which kind of brings another thought to kind of discuss while we still have time. Both Fox News and CNN, they had gotten sources from the FBI that said that from the surveillance tapes that was captured at Mar-a-Lago, it did show that multiple people had access to those highly sensitive and highly confidential files. And so, with that coming out, as far as saying, like, hey, you know, what Trump said was unreasonable, it very well could be very much reasonable because now you have a bunch of people who, for one, does not have the necessary security clearance to even remotely view these files. Two, don't even have the clearance to even remotely get near these files to even look at. And three, what does this man having these files at Mar-a-Lago for anyways? Like, you would think that it would have been either destroyed, shredded, like something where it could not leave the confines of the White House, and so now with media, the old school media, old school media coming out and saying like, hey, this is like an actual red flag here. Like, according to what is being said, like this is borderline something treason or whatever they called it. It was like this is punishable by crime, and so if it was just any old person who did the same thing, they would be to get thrown underneath the jail plus some. So like, so are we really going to do the same thing to Trump and prosecute him criminally, or are we just going to, slap his hand and tell him go about your merry way? Because if it goes to the slap on the wrist kind of ordeal, now we got to look at the whole judicial system as a whole and be like, okay, that's not right. We know that's not right. Y'all know it's not right, but yet you won't prosecute him in a weird way. Like, come on. You're like, ooh, man. And it's funny you brought that up, too. It is so funny you brought that up because I was thinking, I think it was L2 or Toby, one of you guys, because immediately I went to Trevor Noah when he's doing the Daily Show. And it's like, though, yes, he cracks jokes and everything else about what's going on, but he tells you what's going on. He shows you what's going on. He shows you what's happening. And it's like, this is what's happening. This is what's going on. Yes, I'm going to make a joke about it, but you have to know this is what's going on underneath your nose. And just in case you missed it because you're too busy, I'm going to do a recap for you so you get caught up and be like, okay, what the heck didn't happen now? And how is this really going to affect me? But, Trevor, could you at least lighten this bad news by telling a wonderful, fantastic joke about this so I can laugh about it, but still think about it at the same time? Like, dang, that's kind of rough. Like, that's kind of rough that the police could have been in Uvalde to stop the gunman for killing all those people, and yet here they are, like, laughing and joking. Like, what they're laughing and joking about, like people dying, like what they're laughing and joking about, like they don't have a lot of people coming in, like what's really going on. It's like, yeah, that's kind of funny, like, but wait, that's kind of jacked up too at the same time. But now you put it in a way where it's like, okay, what's really happening and what's really going on, and why are these officers not storming the building like they're supposed to, even though they got access? Like, there's a bunch of stuff that goes on. And again, that's an example. But I like the way how he does it. Like, he still gives you the news. He still gives you the facts. He still gives you what's going on. Might make a joke or two. Might give you a punchline that's going to have you rolling over laughing. But by the time you get done, it's like, well, wait, he makes a good point. Like, why is this happening? What's really going on? What do we need to do to solve it? So, and again, Rocky, to your point, yeah, some people they just really can't handle the truth. They just can't. For whatever reason. That's on them. They just can't.
Yeah. And there's something else that I was gonna, I think, latch on to that.
Mm-hmm.
I know in the pandemic, like, yeah, Trevor, of course, had like the socially distanced Daily Show, and I used to get that recommend because I watched some, so I just kept coming up recommended all the time, and I couldn't watch all of it, but I would kind of catch clips, see some interesting topics, and I was like, I feel like he's doing better with the show in the pandemic than beforehand. Now, of course, things have recorrected, and the show is happening in person again, and I'm not sure because I never really watched Trevor Noah a ton. I mean, I saw some things because the Trump era and other stuff. There was a lot of sort of appetite for these type of shows. But like, I don't know exactly what those more left-leaning sort of shows look like. Like, I definitely don't watch the late night, like the Stephen Colbert's or like Jimmy Kimmel and what's the other guy, Seth Meyers. Like, I have no idea what these people talk about these days. And so I know that like a lot of the right-wing media has kind of become a little more popular. Now, independent media is a little hard. I can't say exactly what the Young Turks is, what trying to see like who are the most popular ones. I want to say the Majority Report was a big one with Sam Seder. There was a guy, he actually ended up dying, like passing away like shortly during not really in COVID. I want to say it might have been 2020. It could have been last year. I forget what his name was, but he was also pretty well affiliated. I think it was like Michael something. He was affiliated with the left. And so there was like a lot of these kind of like more left leaning media. And of course, you have like some who are more controversial, a little more independent, like Jimmy Dore. I mean, you have a bunch of people. And so I feel like a lot of those people end up having a little bit more. I mean, it's hard because you don't have the corporate money that you might get on like one of these late night networks or whatever. But then you have this more loyal fan base in a way that'll support you, maybe even financially. And I felt like that's what the trend was going to be more a bit, but I don't know because there's a lot of people are trying to revamp. Like, who's this guy? Keith Olbermann, I think, who's like, let me start a podcast and hope to be successful. The numbers did not look that great from his launch. This guy who did Reliable Sources, his name Brian Stelter. I don't fully know the story of what's going on, but he's kind of been in some controversy because I think CNN fired him. I didn't know what Reliable Sources was. Apparently, it was a show where he kind of criticized the media, or at least he like was doing more of a dive into like the world of like journalistic sources. But he was fired, and he was trying to do some new show. I don't know what's going on. So I feel like people are trying to ride that wave of like new media and independent media, but they're very much part of the old order. Prosecute presence. I see. Yeah, like it's looking worse and worse when it comes to that, like, because like they say, what is he like a pack rat or whatever? But like, you can't be that reckless. You can't really be reckless in that way. And I remember seeing something about how like the doc. I mean, like, I don't work on the classified projects, but I have been able to go through that process. Because I do work for a federal contractor. I didn't need a clearance to start my job, but it was highly recommended that you go through the process before you start working full time. That way you'll like be in the works already. And so I've had to learn about the whole like, even like controlled unclassified information you have to be very careful with. And that's unclassified, but it's still very sensitive to the sponsors. And then you have the actual classified information, and that goes from the moderate all the way to like the top, like to the most grave security risk. So the fact that anything could have landed like that, like there was one guy, like I guess like a guy who used to work in the whatever, he used to work in like maybe as an intelligence agency, but basically he was saying like in this article, like, we go through this rigorous process of making sure that classified material, everything's marked properly and stored in a way. So the fact that there could be like classified information just casually there is like the worst thing that I've ever heard. Like if I could find the article, I will, but it was like a political article or something that was detailing different stuff, or maybe the hell even. And it's like, I don't know. I mean, in some ways, unfortunately, things are too partisan where some things just won't budge, no matter how bad what Trump does is. But I think that at this point, like some of the more intelligence-minded Republicans, like on the committees, are like actually pretty interested in knowing what was the information so that this could be rectified. And hopefully, they will like decide to, even if they don't rebuke Trump in private, try to convince people that this was bad. Because Trump right now has like the most support he's had in a while. Like he was losing a little bit of support. DeSantis was sort of rising up in like the Republican like presidential polls. But then after the raid happened, Trump got like $1 million a day donations and just all this crazy support. And like apparently this would be like the best time. I don't think it would work very well in his favor, but he could run for president like right now, just to be like, look, I'm running for president, I'm being persecuted. But then that would also end up like throwing off the balance, I think, with a lot of other races happening, because now Trump is going to suck up a lot of the money that could be going to the Republican candidates, which, hey, by all means, if that's what you want to do. Yeah, Mike Brooks. Oh, good, Rock. I'm glad that someone knew who I was trying to talk about. Sadly enough, I only knew about him because there was like some video he had where he, I don't remember who they were comparing. They're comparing Yang and someone else. And Michael Brooks was not a fan at all of Yang, but he was saying that even in this case, he was more so in favor of the exchange that Yang had versus the other guy. And so that's when I kind of saw Michael Brooks for the first time, and I saw like the show he was on, and he had some other people on. And I didn't really like follow him, but I just kind of like kept an eye on him of who he was. And then I think I heard more stuff about him as the primary season was getting more intense, because that was 2019. So in 2020, I think I saw him again. I don't remember the context. And then I heard something on him passing away, and I was like, wait, what? So I mean, there's a lot of those independent type of left people who have their own support. But I don't know. I think I'm losing my train of thought a little bit.
No, you're good. You're good.
I think the other thing though is about media, about entertainment, because you can talk a lot about media, of course, and it's easy to talk about the politics side of it and news. But even for entertainment, like when you think of like the Oscars, I mean, music is a big thing. Music, I think, deserves its own sort of topic, but like you could talk about sort of like entertainment as we know of it in terms of TV, movies, and how again you see a shift to like the more, I wouldn't call it independent, but like you have streaming services, which of course they're owned by big companies, but you see people capitalizing on that shift, and like theaters have recovered a bit, but apparently things have been not as great with theaters, and like with I think even superhero movies, like Marvel's has been killing it, but there's been a bit of a flattening. I think like Doctor Strange, which was I'd say a pretty good movie, but like that and even like Thor were kind of underperforming based on what it should have been. So I think there's been maybe some fatigue, whether with superhero Marvel movies or even like overall people aren't trying to go to the movies as much. I mean, I never was a big movie goer personally. Like I might go just with my siblings or with some friends, but it was not usually my go-to to like sit in the theater and watch a movie. It just really wasn't. But now it's even less of a thing. I say in some cases it's fun to do because you can do it again after COVID. So some people just want to do it because they couldn't before, but also some people just say I don't really care to, and then you can get it on, your streaming services. Disney Plus being one of the prominent ones that puts their movies there, like Black Widow. Now you would have paid like $30, which I was not about to do that. You're already paying for the service, and now you have to pay $30 to watch this. Are you kidding me? But versus like 13 at most in the theater. But overall, I mean, it's just interesting how kind of like the media has changed. I think even like award shows have become much less relevant. Like you didn't have real award shows until this year. Obviously the Oscars was a hot mess with the whole slap, but like, I mean, that was entertaining. But like with the Grammys, I don't remember really what happened this year. And same thing with the Emmys. I don't remember anything about the Emmys. So I feel like a lot of the traditional entertainment and sort of the red carpet and all these things and the balls and the gowns, I'm not sure if I hear them being talked about as much, if they even have as much of an influence, which is interesting because I'm not sure what's going to replace that exactly. Like even artists like Lil Nas X, I mean, he still showed up to these physical things, and he's like a world famous troll and like perpetually online. It's not like I haven't heard about like an online virtual award show really to replace the physical one, so I'm not sure exactly where the direction of traditional entertainment's going. Because I never really followed that world that much. Like watching E-News, like I never really watched that kind of stuff. I never cared about celebrity gossip and like I watched a lot of Disney Channel and stuff and Nick growing up, and so you always hear about celebrities, but I never really followed like personal lives of like Orlando Bloom or whatever until they get in the news for like domestic assault. Then I'm like, oh crap! Apparently there's some great things happening, or like Brad and Angelina get their divorce. I'm like, what the heck? But this could just be me. Like, it's a lot less relevant for me to know like these personal lives of people. Maybe that's not a trend overall, but I suspect after COVID and people had to like stay away from the spotlight, that those type of shows aren't going to have the same prominence, or those type of news even, and maybe like tabloids aren't going to have the same type of prominence. But I don't know. I could just be speaking out my butt right now.
There you go.
And he was getting canned. Yeah, I'm gonna look at Brian Stelter's thing because I just want to read up what happened to him and like what it was even about. Some water.
Right. But let's see. I know on my end, I know I am going to have to dip off, and I know that my friend Toby, he may have to dip off tonight, you guys. I know we want to stay here and we want to, keep you guys company. But I know for me on my end, I would still have to get some rest on my own due to the fact that I think I'm supposed to be at the elementary school at 9 o'clock, but then again, I don't know. I don't know. So I just have to get ready with the thought of, hey, you got to get up, get dressed, be at the school by 9 o'clock to help out this, that, and the third, and then still be there to cover everything else that needs to be covered and still do your job at the end of the day. So I know I'll be taking off. It was great hanging out with you guys. It was great chatting up with you guys. It was fun. Shout out to Rocky. Shout out to Gil. B. Julia, thank you. Shout out to you as well. And for anybody else, Mish, don't forget, shout out to Mish too as well. And for anybody else who pulled up, whether you were lurking in the stream, whether you were on YouTube, especially on Twitter. We can't see you guys' comments. We can't see who all's been watching there. But shout out to Twitch. Twitter. I'm sorry. Shout out to Twitter. You guys are holding it down over there on Twitter. Like, we appreciate you so much. Like I said, can't see your comments, can't see your posts, can't see if you liked it or not, or whatever the case may be. But even still, it goes without saying, we appreciate you. We appreciate you. We appreciate you. And if it wasn't for you guys coming in every Tuesday, it would have kind of made this Tuesday a little bit more harder to deal with. Oh yeah. I'm gonna try. And again, if you guys didn't catch it, coaching Rocket League football, this was their first time wearing like full football gear, so like helmets, shoulder pads, practice jerseys, and old T-shirts, football pants, mouth guard, and cleats. It was a very tiring day, very exhausting day, but it was still a very good day at the end. Wouldn't trade it for the red light. Would not trade it for the red light. So I know, like I said, I have to get some sleep. I have to.
Absolutely.
Go ahead, Toby.
I was gonna say, I get that. Like, you need to do what you need to do. For me, luckily enough, I still have a lot of work that I have to get done because I've been kind of in a daze recently. All the stuff that's been going on in my apartment and just otherwise. I've had like a lot of new projects, like same project, new tasks coming up. So I'm just like trying to keep my head above water. But schedule wise, tomorrow looks a little more clear than it's looked recently, where I've had back to back or all these meetings and impromptu meetings being scheduled 30 minutes, hour later, follow-ups, and I'm like, what's going on? So this day, this is a trap. My first meeting is like at noon. That I can look at like my real meeting, like not just because I have teams that kind of meet separately and I don't have to be on them. But like the first real meeting that I actually quote unquote have to be on is like I think noon. Even that's looking kind of shaky. I feel like, oh yeah, it is noon. And that might not even happen because this meeting seems to be perpetually postponed since like last Friday.
Right.
So that's a trap because that means I'm not going to do anything before noon, which is terrible because then things need to be done later. And I'm like, whoops, I should have probably been doing actual work. I didn't say that. Employers, if you're listening, you did not hear that. But it still makes sense for me to try to be up because I've had to have meetings. 9 isn't really early. I know a lot of people easily had meetings before that, but for me, not always being used to having to meet consistently that early is like, oh my god, why did you schedule a 9 a.m. meeting the day before? What's wrong with you? Like 4 p.m. one day, they're like, let's schedule a 9 a.m. the next day. I'm like, why? You could have done this a week ago. But anyway, the point is, I also should definitely get off, but I absolutely love the time I get to spend here, talk to you all, and I wanted to shout out Rocky because he's been posting that Futurocracy. I can't pronounce it, but I definitely wanted to say that that app called not Telegram, the Clubhouse. the Clubhouse invite that he posts. Definitely check it out. Like Sundays at like I think 4 p.m. Eastern or so.
Mhm.
I've not been the best at joining. I did try this past I think Sunday, but I had to multitask, so I didn't really get to hear everything. But all of y'all who have your own discussions and forums, absolutely plug them in the Discord, your own podcast, and everything else. Now, saludos. ¿Cómo está? ¿Cómo se llama? ¿Cómo te llamas? Whatever. Yo hablo un poquito español, pero no, I don't even know how to say fluent. I'm not, I would say I can read Spanish the best than I can do anything else. Like if I had to listen to Spanish, I would be in trouble.
Mhm.
But reading Spanish, out of all four like ways to practice, like speaking, listening, writing, and reading is definitely the most fluent for me. You can read in between, no pun intended, but you can read in between the lines pretty easily if you know just a bit of the Spanish. You can kind of tell what people are saying, especially like when you're talking more in slang and on the internet. It's not like super formal. You don't need to know like you don't have to be an ambassador to Mexico or Spain to know how to like read some Spanish. And so when I see like, I think the only thing that can suck is like sometimes slang can be really hard to read when people replace certain sounds with letters that you normally don't see in the actual language. Like when they say K, which is QUE, sometimes they use the letter K, and I'm like, oh, I see what you're doing, but I did not learn this in Spanish class. They didn't teach us how to speak slang. The nickname is okay. Mucho gusto. Oh, gracias. Let me see. How do I say what I want to say? How did you find us? I mean, I don't know how much English you can understand, but how did you find our channel on Twitch?
Yeah, I was gonna say because a lot of the Spanish stuff, like I captured on because the first one was "Hello, greetings from Mexico." I'm like, okay, nice. And then you like the title, you know, or the title is interesting. Like
Yeah.
I know that much. I know that much. Like the translations, I know what it is, and everything else. I know me personally.
Okay. Okay.
Oh, really? It was recommended on Twitch. Let's go, Twitch. Come on, Twitch.
Me gusta.
Let's go, Twitch.
Hey, me gusta.
Let's
Twitch.
go.
Twitch es fuego.
Yeah, no, it was we were on the recommendation list. That's what's up. That's what's up. Being put on the recommendations list on Twitch is huge. It's phenomenal. Oh, it's huge. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So if you ever go on Twitch and you just so happen to just log in and just pull up the website. Of course, they got the main spotlight at the top, and then they got like kind of like right underneath that, there's like a little section where, like, you know, hey, these are the people that are going live and everything else. Over on the, so it would be the left hand corner of the screen, further down. So you have your people who you follow towards the top, and then down towards the middle, it'll be like, these are the people who Twitch thinks that you would kind of recommend and everything else. But down at the bottom, what they'll have is these are the recommended channels that you should watch. And even then, if you scroll down a little bit more, so you'll have your main showcase, you have in this bar, this little section here, it'll basically be like these are the people who are live now. Right underneath them, it'll be these are the recommended channels that you should watch. So it's literally like the third level down from being spotlight. So that's amazing. That is amazing. Like
TM coin, the melanated coin. We're about to go to the moon, mint our own cryptocurrency based on
Lord, yeah,
based on our Twitch.
No, but again, you know, let's see.
No, but I do appreciate that. I do appreciate that for real.
Yeah.
Hey, it's funny because I know YouTube was weird because there was a point where we hit 500, so we were growing obviously, and we may have hit like either 550 or a little close to it. And I
Yeah.
feel like we've not something like huge because we're still over 500, but we've like hovered around the 525 mark. So I feel like we've kind of lost, gained, lost. But on Twitch, I mean, I wasn't always tracking our followers, but I feel like we've only gained. Like we already didn't
Yeah.
have the big Twitch presence, but like we hit like 50 something, 55 maybe. Which is cool. I mean, Twitch is already a platform I don't personally use, so this is the most Twitch followers I've ever had. So it's definitely interesting to see like how like you grow on different platforms and how the
Yes.
algorithm treats different platforms. Twitter, I mean, is our biggest presence, but personally, I don't stay on Twitter, so I don't get to see that in real time. It still blows my mind.
Right.
Like one time earlier this year or late last year, where we already had a lot less viewers, like in general on like our other platforms, but on Twitch, it was still like 100. Not Twitch, Twitter. I was still seeing like 100, 200. I was like, huh? Now, the way that they measure
Mhm.
real views might be like, okay, it comes across your timeline, auto played, or maybe you clicked in for a second. But I was still pretty like, whoa, I didn't know what the metrics were for Twitter at all because I wasn't looking at the, not even Periscope, but when on Twitter, something streams, right? And you can see that stream within
Mhm.
Twitter. I wasn't always
Mhm.
looking at that. So it's kind of blowing my mind, like how many eyes could have just been laid on any given um, platform. And you obviously see the views for YouTube and Twitch after the fact and during the stream. We can see it up here. But still, anyway, kind of a little bit of a tangent, but it
No,
is
you're good.
interesting
You're good.
the way growth happens. And, I'm also just here for the good time. So I'm not super like pressed. Like I love to see it just to see the numbers, but not so much as like, oh my God, we have to like do all these things or life's over. But it is nice that people kind of organically can find us and they continue to rock with us, like y'all. No pun intended,
Yes.
but y'all continue to rock with us.
Yes. Agreed. It is so. Let's see. Oh, I'm going to. I'm gonna try this. I'm gonna try this. I'm gonna try my Spanish is it's getting there, especially coming from the Dominican Republic where a lot of them just spoke Spanish and whatnot. So, uh, Mama Tamagos, Buenos dias, gracias. Thank you for watching us and thank you for coming by, even if you're on Twitch. And we appreciate you like so much for pulling up and even just clicking through and just showing love. I mean, still, thank you. Gracias. 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 Gracias.
Yo también el mismo que el hombre said. I can't. My Spanish is so bad now. It's actually embarrassing because I used to like. I took like 4 years, and so my Spanish was always much more. I didn't always use it in real life, but words came to me much better than they come to me now. Like right now, I'm like Alzheimer's type with Spanish, where I
Yeah.
can remember some things. But yes, thank you, Marmo Tamagos. I didn't realize what you were saying at first when you said that. Well, I was like, "What's Tamagos?" But that's literally the username. I was like, "What Spanish word is this?" But no, I got you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Seriously, gracias por tu support. Ayuda, maybe your help, but that word might not translate the way I wanted to. Um,
No. Yeah, but no, we gotta go. We gotta go. We gotta go. But again, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for tuning in. Cannot stress this enough. Thank you for tuning in. We will catch you guys next week, Tuesday. And if you're able to swing by, please come on by. Please come on by. Don't allow the language barrier to be a hindrance. Just come on. Just come on. Just come on.
Cada semana en el martes. Anoche, sí, 9 en el. How do you say in the evening? God damn. Nueves.
Is it noches?
Oh yeah, I guess nueve el noche.
Oh, was it either El Tarde or El Noches?
We're all humans in honor. Martes. Yeah, because lunes is Monday, martes is Tuesday. Cada semana. Cada semana. And
All
el martes.
right.
And sí, son grandes seres humanos. Un planeta. Uno planeta, uno peoples. I mean, I'm from here, Maryland. I grew up. Massachusetts. I stay. Um, though I'm gonna say I'm from Nigeria, so soy. So I want to say, where am I from? I'm from Nigeria, but born here in Estados Unidos.
Mm-hmm. 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 Oh, nice. Let's go. Okay.
Mexico. Okay. I want to go.
Nice.
I actually want to visit.
Nice. Let's go.
Yo quiero visitar Mexico y Mexico City.
Oh man, see, you got to come back next week. You have to come back next week. Yes, you're gonna have to come back next week. You're gonna have to come back next week. You're gonna have to come back next week. You know, invite your friends. Invite your friends. Invite your friends, because next week I think we're gonna be talking about family, the future of family. I think that's what we're going to talk about. If not that, then it might be something in reference to family, familia.
I think society, which is kind of with family relationships.
Yeah. Yes.
Talking about the more human element of some of it. You can also mix in kind of like how jobs will be different. But the way society is changing and the way that affects the family, and that, of course, in turn links with jobs, the future when it comes to jobs and work. But definitely, I think the big focus is the future of society and like relationships.
Yes.
And so it'll be fun. It'll be a nice topic, you know. Always nice to like talk about a bit of that. But in any case, let me not keep you too much longer. I'm gonna start getting ready to toss out some stuff before I go to bed. So
yes.
All yes. Juice.
All right. So we're going to go, but please come back next week, Tuesday, 9:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6:00 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And again, just come back. But we're going to have a good show. So to our friends from Twitch, adios, mis amigos. And then to our friends on YouTube. Yes.
Diferente.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Sí. Gracias. I love it. See, that's what I mean. I can read it and it's like instant translate. But if I wanted to speak, it's like there's a serious blockage in my brain.
Right.
But I can read Spanish pretty well, I would say.
All righty. Adios.
Adios.